Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. I'm your host, Why It Matters. Back again for hopefully it's going to be another interesting conversation and talking point. But yeah, let me know before I continue whether you can all hear me in the chat. Please make sure you can hear me. Press a one in the chat or just say what's up if you can hear me. Either or, I'm not too fussed. But I see some people in the chat already. I'm going to greet the people already here. Jesse, yes, my brother, man. Yeah, we rise. So open discussion. So it's an open panel, and so yeah, we're gonna get right into it. So, but before I bring anyone on the panel, I'm just gonna sort of set the scene, just so that people are aware on the playback, and also those who are listening right now, just so that we're all aware of the basically the background. I mean, the title is pretty much quite self-explanatory, but you know how I like to do. I like to, say my piece and then let things go from there. Now, this came about due to a Discord topic in which a sister by the name of Tash, I hope you don't mind me name dropping you, she actually put something on the Discord server saying that it was in response to Trevor Phillips, who is now being, as part of, is the Queen has their yearly honors and awards, and they get a list of nominations, and Trevor Phillips was down there as being knighted. So the question was put: do men of color, obviously those that have been the descendants of slaves and empire, colony, should they accept these types of awards? So I was like, this is a perfect topic up my alley, because it is something which, to be fair, it was something I was planning on doing beforehand. So it's not like it was something I was like, oh, okay. So I thought, yeah, let me jump on it. So all started from there. It was a question that was posed, hence the nature of this live stream, hence the nature of the topic. Now, I'm going to keep it as balanced as I can do, because I can see it from a lot of different angles, and I just want to set the backdrop, because at the end of the day, the word empire has a massive negative connotation, and depending on where you fall in the spectrum of belief system, this is where it all hinges. I can see some other people in the chat already. KB Jones, yeah, man, how's it going? Hope everything's good with you and the family. Critical African thinkers, okay. I'll be interested to hear your opinion as well, because again, I can see it from both sides. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to labor too long, because I don't want to speak too long. But I'm going to play this. I just want to play a short segment from a poet by the name of Benjamin Zephaniah. I don't know if you're all aware of this brother, but he's a poet / activist, and he appeared on the Big Nasty show.
What made you get into doing poetry?
All right, so I'm just gonna fast forward it here. So this is really going to serve as the backdrop to this conversation. Now, it's not just about knights or being knighted. It's also about honors in general. So this conversation can also switch to just honors. So you know it is, you get a CBE, a MBE, a OBE, all the kind of other things like that. So it's all about, should we accept them things? Okay. Now, I just want to play this to the backdrop, just so you understand exactly almost the counter argument, and then we're going to go to here. So let me know if you can hear it. Fair use. It's only gonna be like a minute, if that. But this is Benjamin Zephaniah. Now, he explains as to why he turned down the MBE. All right, let's get into it.
Like, yeah, just to understand that as well. That's deep. What happened there?
The order, the OBE means Order of the British Empire. MBE is Member of the British Empire. I've been fighting against empire all my life. I've been fighting against slavery and colonialism all my life. I've been writing to connect with people, not to impress governments and monarchy. So how could I then go and accept an honor that puts the word empire onto my name? That would be hypocritical. But I'm so happy about...
Right, so that is kind of the backdrop that I wanted to leave this off in regards to what some of the arguments, what some of the opinions are as to why. And again, this extends to all the awards. Now, I got some people in the backdrop. I'm going to add you, Jesse. Welcome to the show. But that was kind of the backdrop as to why he and a lot of other people, the main problem, it seems, is the name of the empire. But before I really continue, let me get some more discussion, because I've got some more things to bring to the chat. I'm hoping to get a nice conversation going. First off, Jesse, welcome. Happy New Year. I've not spoken to you since, I don't think. So
Yeah, hello. Happy New Year. Hello, everyone in the chat. Yeah, it's been a while. 2022. Also will be the year of my channel, so content will be coming out soon. It's
Looking
gonna
forward
be
to
good,
it.
man.
Looking forward to it.
It's gonna be about social issues in the UK. So watch out for that. It's a whole bunch of other things. It's a whole network, but I'm not here to promote myself. Anyway,
It's all love here. It's all love here. What I'll do is I'll actually yeah, if you want to post your link in the private and I post it in the main chat, it's all love. It's all love.
I appreciate it. But yeah, like I think here's the problem, right? It's I would say yes, we should, but I think, in my opinion, we're living too much in the past. What we got to do is we got to acknowledge that these atrocities happened to our ancestors in the past, but we also got to move forward. So there's got to be a balance, because I think it's just what I always, well, I won't say always, but there is some positive like black people out there and so on and so forth. Is it's too much of a doom and gloom. Like we're always putting ourselves down, even though yes, we're not in the best terms social economically, but it always seems to be that case. It has to be a struggle. It has to be something negative, you know. So I think that, in my opinion, I think we should. But there's certain people out there with like certain types of energy that are just walking contradictions.
Okay, explain that one to me, please.
Like, for example, recently Lewis Hamilton, I think he got knighted.
He
Am
did,
I
he
right?
did, yep. He did, yep.
Right. But he about Black Lives Matter, this institutional racism that, you know, if you look in you know the history of the royal family and what the royal family was about, right, years ago, it was institutionally racist, right?
Yep.
So it's like, and that's globally at some point. So I'm like, why are you picking up the MBE? Why, like, stay in your lane?
Do you know what?
So
Yeah. Sorry to cut you. I did the video, and this what got, and now you can't see the thumbs down, but it got so many thumbs down because I I agree with you here, and this is the distinction. I criticized Lewis Hamilton because he was talking about removing statues, and everyone was talking about institutional racism, especially during the height of, was it not last year but the year before, about BLM. And I thought to myself, hold on, the optics here doesn't even look good, because you were going to accept the most prestigious award that I think any Brit can accept from the head of the most racist institutional organization the world has ever seen, in terms of the Queen and the head of state. It doesn't look
right,
good. And people are, oh, no, no, oh, no, no, no. I was like, yeah, but this is his words. This is not what I'm saying. This is what he's
exactly.
saying. So I was just like, so I suppose my question then to you then is, do you think that there are, it depends on the type of black person and what they stand for? Is that what you're saying?
I think so. You know, for me, if I was given the OBE or MBE, I would take it, because in the end of the day, you know, it's the two-edged sword. It's like a double-edged sword. It's like some black people want acceptance, they want inclusion, but there's certain things they don't want to be included in. It does like again. It's the contradictions.
You've just hit another massive talking point, which I love. And this is what kills me the most, because I always think that there is a double-edged sword where we ask for inclusion and diversity. And fun enough, in order to get a knight, or if you're a female, you're called a dame. So for those who don't know, which you should do, if you're knighted, if you're a man, it's a sir. If you're a woman, you're called a dame. And that's only if you're a British citizen. If you're not, you just get honorary title, but you can't use the title sir or dame unless you are a British citizen. But yeah, we always complain about inclusion. That's been the mantra for a long time. And now it's like, hold on a second. Had the Queen not actually nominated any black people, we would have been complaining. And it's like, hold on.
Right.
You can't be moaning about racism, the new age of empire, and then saying, hold on, we're going to get something of the order of the empire. It's like, what? But let me ask you this then. Do you think it's just because I believe people can change and things can change? Do you think it's just their name, that word empire? Because on that clip, I don't know how if you listen to it all, but what Benjamin Zephaniah really seemed to allude to the most was the name of the awards are called Order of the British Empire, a member of the British Empire. It's that word empire which gets people really like us stuck up, because we understand the history of it and what it's done to us. Do you think that's what it is? If it's called something different, we won't have a problem with that.
Yeah, maybe that's true, but again, it's the negative connotation of the British Empire. People gotta understand also that yes, there was bad atrocities that the British Empire did, but there was also good that they did as well. So it's a one-sided thing, you know. I understand where he's coming from, but in my opinion, look, the British Empire also did good. You know, people ain't. Here's the thing: is that 50 years, I'll say about 50, 60 years since we started, like black people started immigrating into the country, right? And you got to really look, right? You got to give the British credit, right? Even though yes, things are not perfect, but the change of race relations, right? From when we first came to now and the difference within a lifetime is pretty impressive. Because if you look at, for example, our parents or even, parents like they're the Windrush generation, the stuff that they had to deal with, right? This is why I respect the elders and I take the elders, let's say, experiences seriously because they had to live through a certain time. But us now, as we're living back, we ain't got to live with that most of the time. Yeah, there's some racism here and there, but it's not as bad as it used to be back when we first came. You know.
So let me play devil's advocate then. So do you not think it's a slap in the face? In order to, it's almost like, let's say this, it's almost a top tier house Negro. You know what I mean? It's like not only in the house, but you're the top sir of that house, and you've been knighted, you've been awarded, and even though I know what you're saying, it still represents everything. I mean, someone in the chat made a comment here. Devon was saying, let me just bring it up. It's more to do with the structure, the whole structure that you have essentially you've co-signed. So by accepting that award, by going down here, by going to the ceremony, by getting that knighthood or whatever OBE or MBE or CBE, you've now co-signed and said, you know what, we accept the structure that is. And so basically all the things in the past, you may say it's forgotten, but essentially you've just co-signed it. You've just accepted what the power structure that it is now. What do you think? What do you say to that?
Well, what I say to that is, first off, it's in a way it's kind of a choice for us to be here, right? It's like our parents came down, they had a choice, right, to basically come down here for a better life, right? Obviously, we didn't have a part to play in. Some of us didn't have a part to play in it because we were born here, right? We didn't choose to be born in Britain; it just happened, right? So the thing is we, as soon as we come here, like we've got to understand where we are at. We got to understand that we're a minority, right? There's only 3% of us. And we got to understand that, yes, there is history that wasn't good, right? For, let's say, for people of ethnicities, right? It wasn't just black people or a whole bunch of other people, right? But it's like you're going to have to set some of the good and some of the bad, And I would say, in my opinion, I would say when it comes to the kick in the teeth for elders is, I would say it's how we are as a community are behaving now. I think that's the biggest kick in the teeth. Considering what they had to do, they had to fight for their rights. They had to fight for acceptance. You had the Black Information Center, you had all of the various movements, and so on and so forth. We're like, you look at the socio-economic factors here, and they fought for us, and then we're seeing knife crime, we're seeing all these things that happen again, black on black, right? And I could imagine how the elders are thinking, hey, we fought for all this, we went for all of this to now see the destruction of the black community. I think that's a bigger kick in the teeth because they were working their socks off to build what is now today, and it doesn't look good. Obviously, not all. And there is some good aspects of the community, but still, we got to look at the facts. We got to be real and see, look, we're at the bottom of the socio-economic ladder. So were we really prepared for the future? And based on what the statistics and the data show, not so much.
No, I hear what you're saying in regards to that. I mean, I think that's kind of a separate topic, isn't it? Or a separate sidebar, which I suppose those issues, that's definitely another type of conversation that we need to have. But I suppose in the terms of this honor, aren't we almost, let me use the word, shitting in the face of our ancestors, like you said, who did fight for us, was like, we were enslaved by force, not by choice. And now what you guys are doing, I mean, you said that our community's weakened. isn't this a part of our weakened immunity because we're now conforming to the structure that enslaved us, imprisoned us, that colonized us? Because we're comfortable, we're getting included, we're seen as, you know, one of them, because that's what we've been fighting for. And maybe that's, again, happy for people to come up and have their discussion as to whether they agree or not. But is that the problem? That's the reason why. One of the reasons, of course, there's myriad of reasons.
It's a double-edged sword, right? Again, it's like, again, are you, like you said, you know, they were fighting for inclusion and so on and so forth, right? But if we're fighting for inclusion, then we got also accept the system and the structure, because the system and the structure is what consists of Great Britain, and that's just really that. It's like, again, it's like we could take some stuff, but we can't take all stuff. It's like, what is it? You know, that's how I see it.
Okay. I'll definitely want to hear some of your more thoughts as we get into the conversation.
Yeah.
Charles, are you you've been flickering in and out in the back chat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here now. I'm good. Hi. How's everyone doing?
Hello.
Wonderful. Happy New Year, and hope everyone's well in life.
Happy New Year. Yeah. So great conversation. I'm glad that Tash brought this up in the Discord server, and you've taken it up as a live stream. So first of all, I agree with everything OJM said. I think he made very, very good points that at times, as Black people, we are living in the past. You understand? We cannot let history define us. We can't let history define our present existence. So I want to say that I can still see it from two perspectives. From the video that you played of that man who said he rejected it, I can understand why he rejected it, because sort of his life's work is trying to deconstruct what you call empire and all that. And then for him to receive a title from a quote, an empire, just for the optics of it, not for any other thing, it would seem bad. But on the other hand, why shouldn't Black people take such honors? They are as much a part of the British Empire. Even let's just say the British Empire exploited Black Africa and all that. So somehow Black people contributed to the building of the British Empire. So why should the knighthood is a good thing, I would say. So is it that Black people are not, they shouldn't participate in the good aspects in the honors of the empire? Why should our role in the empire be defined by the exploitation? So I think this is sort of the time for the reward. Reap it, because you have been a part of the empire building process. Even though the empire was exploitative all throughout most of its history, I wouldn't say it is currently. It isn't as exploitative as it used to be. So this is the time to reap the rewards. This is the time to. It shouldn't only be that it's only when the negatives. That's what we'll be selling ourselves short if we keep doing that. If we keep saying no, we cannot because of the history of this. So we shouldn't benefit from this positive thing. We have to look beyond. We have to look beyond the history. I'm not saying deny history, because it is important, and but we need to live in the present and not be held by the past. So that's what I just have to say for now, but I'll contribute more as time goes on.
No, I hear you. And one of the things I was going to compare it to in terms of this is, because I was going to say to you, both of your points, is what if the Germans had an award system? Would Jews feel comfortable accepting an award from Germans, knowing the history of the Nazis? Because you know how, for some odd reason,
Germans and Nazi are two different things. You know that. You do know that.
I do. But a lot of times it's the optics. So a lot of things like the British Empire is not the same. So you say Britain, British Empire, there are a lot of things are a bit different as well. In terms of not all Brits own slaves. Not all Brits were the ones who colonized the rest of the world. There were a select group of British people who happened to do that. The rest of the Brits were just living. A lot of them were poor. If you look at the history of Britain, most Brits were poor. It was only a select group of people. So no, I get it. But I think it's just, again, the optics. Would you think Jews would accept an award from that?
By that logic, Black people shouldn't currently be living in Britain because somehow Britain oppressed Black people. So it shouldn't have anything to do with Britain. But that's not the way it is, you know. It's
Okay.
not the way it is. Black people currently are living in Britain, and they are British people. Trevor Phillips is a British, is British. So why shouldn't he be? Why shouldn't he take the highest honors that will be awarded to any white British person? Why should it be excluded because of the color of his skin? No. If we want to look at, say, let's boycott because the British were terrible to black people. No black person should speak English. No black person should adopt any British Western English culture because somehow they've been terrible to us. No, but that's not the way it works. We can't keep living like that. No, no. So I don't buy that. So the arguments you're trying to make with Nazis and Germany, those are very two different. The Nazis are not ruling Germany currently. In fact, they can't even have any public face in Germany. So that's
I
sort of a
suppose,
false
I suppose the
equivalency in that
comparison. I
regard.
suppose no, I get you. I suppose the comparison I probably should have said it better is that's how a lot of not all black people see British Empire as a beast that has colonized their people, your people, our people, similar to how the Nazis did it to the Jews. I think that's probably the comparison. Do you know how yeah, they hold what happened, like a lot of Jews, they take pride in, they came from a line of people who survived the Holocaust. They take pride in that. And a lot of things they don't, anything they associate, they don't like it. So I suppose that's kind of the comparison I was
To
trying to
me,
make.
yeah, I get. To
Yeah,
me, it
yeah.
should be all or none. Are we in or not? You understand? There shouldn't be any half measures. If Britain is still currently exploiting um,
This is the
Africa or
argument.
exploiting black people and all that, then I think I will have very big issues with that. But I don't see any evidence that I can see currently before me that that's the case. So what's done is done. We have to move forward. It might seem a bit harsh, but that's the way I think.
Okay, okay. Love your thoughts. Before I go to you, KB, I just want to actually speak on something that you mentioned in the chat. So yeah, definitely this one was a shocker for me. So definitely RIP Catherine. I think her name was Charlene. Did she get, I don't know if she got married or whatnot, but I don't know. But yeah, so definitely that one took me by surprise. So if anyone's in the chat and if you didn't realize or didn't know, she unfortunately passed away, I think due to complications to COVID from what I see in the GoFundMe. So there is a GoFundMe for her. So if you want to donate and contribute, by all means, there's something for you. But unfortunately, she has passed away. So prayers and support definitely to the family for sure, for sure. But KB, welcome again. How are you? You a bit sober?
Yo, bro, do you know what? I'm not sober, but I saw, I always follow your lives. You had a like from me like 12 hours ago. You know how it goes. Support the ting, man them. You know how it goes.
I love it, love it, love it.
Um,
Come on.
bro, trust me. We go way back, fam. You can. Every time you see your bunch of likes, one of them's at least from me. You should know that from now, brother. You know what I mean?
I know you got me. It's all love.
Right.
It's all love.
Come on, my G. First of all, just like you said, rest in peace to Catherine. I'm gonna keep it real. I saw you live. I've had a drink, but partly because of Catherine. Even I'm with my wife now. I've had a bit of a cry today. I'll keep it real as a man, because Catherine was very close to us, and we heard about this, within the last 24 hours. We're all affected by it. So, first of all, why it matters. Thank you for bringing it up. And secondly, RIP to Catherine. She was one of the sweet souls, very fair woman, a very, very fair. She always let you say your bit, but yeah, so respect to you for saying that. And RIP Catherine Magomu. And her GoFundMe is up. Just look her up. Her GoFundMe's up. So sorry to just say that. But yeah, I just wanted to jump in because I heard a lot of like Eastern European and Germany come up. And it's interesting because I'm bringing this up because, as you know why it matters, I'm a British Ghanaian. And particularly in when it comes to Europe, particularly a country of Germany, I'm not sure of the origin why, but particularly Ghana has a close affinity to Germany. Places like Hamburg, Frankfurt, and some other smaller towns and villages, but particularly those two cities, there's a high Ghanaian population in those countries. And what I will say is, what I found with getting close to and speaking to and getting used to Eastern Europeans, be it German, Ukrainian, Polish, Romanian, there seems to be a slight difference to English Caucasians, you know? And I'm not saying for better or worse, but I'm just saying there's a slight difference. So I find it quite interesting for the talk coming up about Eastern Europe. So yeah, I just wanted to say that yeah, I'm just here listening, because in particularly Germany, the Netherlands is interesting because the Netherlands tried to conquer us, and particularly with my bloodline, they didn't get through to the Gold Coast, now known as Ghana. But there is an affinity with Northern and Eastern Europe, particularly West Africa, Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria. So I'm very intrigued to bring this up. That's what made me come to the panel basically today. So I'm going to fall back, but I'm going to jump in as well every so often. But yeah, so that's my introduction.
I was going to say, what do you think on the actual? So, what's your viewpoint on this? Because you're not really giving you viewpoint, yes or no. Do you think we should accept these types of honors and awards? What's your viewpoint on it?
It's interesting because even those type of awards include people like Wiley. Wiley got was that an MBE?
Yeah, MBE,
he got one of those, right? He got one of those knighthoods.
Yeah, he did.
Tiny Templar, these sort of things.
I think after his rant against the Jews, he like either crushed it or got stripped of it, something like that. But yeah, he did.
He got stripped. They took his medal back, didn't they? If I believe correctly. Yeah. To be honest, particularly being of Ghanaian heritage and background, I would be like, okay, I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but as you guys may know that know me, KB Jones, and you yourself, White Matters, I've always talked about how I was a budding footballer, and in another life I would have been a professional footballer. You guys might recall. I've always said, regardless of how British I am, I was born in Paddington, I was born in London, West London, Westminster. You can't, what I mean? It's a real hospital. You can't get more British than that. I always maintained that if I made it as a professional footballer, I always would have tried to play for Ghana rather than England, even though I'm very British and English, because it's personal. The royal jewels, even the crown that our Queen Elizabeth II wears, however old she is, 70, 80, 90 years old, how she is, they originate from West Africa. The jewels originate from West Africa, North Africa. So I could never 100% salute you guys. You're giving me a knighthood on your behalf when you were in jewels from my grandma's, great-grandma's, great-grandfather's country. No, I should be giving you a knighthood. But at the same time, I understand I was born here, I was raised here, I was born in your hospital, fine. But I could never, if I ever made it to that point, I would actually turn it down, because I feel like you're violating, because you're going to give me a knighthood. Okay, you know what, you're giving me a knighthood for making it through, through all oppression. No, I don't want a knighthood for that. I don't want a knighthood for that. You design a system that way anyway. So all I can do is try to make it through or fail. There's nothing else. What you need to do is give me back even. I don't believe in reparations, because the reason why I don't believe in reparations, I know it's more of an American thing, but there was some of our own that participated in it. So there needs to be internal questions asked. But when it comes to us British people, I don't want my things back. Like, it's too late for that. But just give me my respect, and don't try and condescend me by giving me this honorary quote unquote knighthood for being British and being great. What else was I supposed to do? You already set the system against me. So I was either going to be great or crumble. I didn't have any other choice. We only have two choices of black people be from Britain: be great or crumble. There's no middle ground, unfortunately. So if I was ever to be honored, that is quite condescending. So I reject that personally. So people like Wiley, I think Tiny Temper did his, but Wiley gave his back. I rate that. And I'm not surprised, because he's a Capricorn like me. We recognize real, them ways. Real recognize real. So yeah, I would reject it personally.
I just wanted to get his thoughts in. There's a question. America's history was riddled with slavery and all the bad things that you could think of doing to black people. should a black person not aspire to become president because of the history of the country of America? Should a black person
Okay,
not aspire to the highest level possible in the country that they're currently living, because someone that country has oppressed them before?
Okay. One second, my brother. Where are you located, please? Where's your origin? Where's your origin, and where are you located
In
right now?
Nigeria. Nigeria.
Nigeria, and your origin's Nigeria, yeah?
Yep.
You're a Niger, yeah? Are you Igbo or what's your tribe, please?
How is that relevant to the conversation? I'm Nigerian.
That's fine. That's fine. No, the reason why I was saying this because I'm Ghanaian British. That's fine. Don't take offense, please. Because with America, okay, perfect. No, that's fine. Just make sure I don't take offense, because I know Ghana and Nigeria, we we either love each other or it's tense. It's fine, my brother. Please don't take offense. But with America, and this is established by own American black people, quote unquote, there's a difference between us. Us being me, for example, being British, us two being African, including white matters being Caribbean, we're different. For all intensive purposes, the black people in the world, even though people have sort of diluted the phrase, the black people in the world are actually Americans. So it doesn't include us. Because when you speak to them, we're non-FBA, we're not NDOS, so we're not black people. So the black people problems are in America. They're a whole different spit. What I'm saying to you, my brother, is in terms of are you well? I'm not being condescending, so please don't take it as that. But are you well versed in the situation between the British Empire and West Africa? Obviously, you being Nigerian, are you well versed in it?
Of course, of course.
Okay, fantastic. So me as a British Ghanaian, born and raised in Paddington, you got to understand, I was born in St. Mary's, and those that know, especially born in Britain, that's a royal hospital. So I have an oxymoron. I have an English accent. I've been born and bred British, but I have Ghanaian roots. But it's a different situation to the Americans. Whether we've been integrated more or not, or we have a different situation, I still take offense to it. I would reject this situation. Now, I know Nigerians and Ghanaians we're very close, but we're very different at the same time. How do yourself as a Nigerian feel towards the British Empire? I know there's a different circumstance. Nigeria is a bigger population. We are the Gold Coast, the fisher people. Yourselves have oil. You're more inland. How is your relationship with the British Empire, basically?
What time period are you asking me to comment on? Is it currently or
right
in the
now.
past?
No. Forget the past. We're millennials. Let me ask you right now. How do you feel?
I don't feel any particular love or hatred for the British Empire. They're just another country that operates in the world that we have to deal with. So they have no power over us. So
they have no power. So are you sure? Because no, are you sure? They have no power over us. None.
Positive.
I would argue. I would like to think that, but I like to argue that because why are we? Listen, my brother.
Okay.
You're Nigerian, yeah.
All right.
Why are we Anglo? Why are we Francophone and Anglo-Asian? Anglo-Nigerian, Anglo-Ghanaian, Anglo-Senegalese, whatever. Why are we speaking French, Portuguese, and English? So they still have
those are circumstances of history that we cannot change. We can't go back and change those things.
No. I know that,
so,
but it's history.
No. You're asking why are we Francophone or why are we English?
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
You're asking why we're Francophone or why we're English and all that. I'm telling you that those things happened in history. They're a consequence of what happened in the past. You understand? It's not as if the British came yesterday and said, "Okay, start learning English now." No, they've left since the 60s for the most part of Africa, and we've been pretty much independent for that long. So.
I agree. We have been independent, but why are we still teaching English in our schools? You can't argue with that. Why is there such a thing as pidgin English in certain Nigerian regions? Why are we still enforcing that?
I just answered that it's the
I'm
consequence
sorry,
of
I didn't hear
history.
that. I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. Go on. Sorry.
I said it is the consequence of what happened in history. It's like asking the
Okay, is
Jews
that
during the
I'm
time.
going to accept that because that's past. What? No, 2021, 22. Why are Nigerians still speaking pidgin English? That doesn't answer my
Why are
question.
Nigerians
I
speaking
don't want to
pidgin
hear about
English?
past.
Pidgin English
Why now?
Pidgin English. Pidgin English is an adaptation. It's not even English. An adaptation from English.
No. It doesn't matter if it's
English words.
adaptation. It's not. It didn't derive from a Nigerian community town. So
Are
you're not
you
answering my question.
are you
It's
are you
about no.
familiar with
Let me finish.
Okay,
Why
finish.
is it? Please, my brother. I'm not trying to be rude, so I'm sorry. Please, but why is that still the case? Why is it still that a white man can come into Cameroon, Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, and still be accepted as the savior? We have a deeper rooted problem here. It's not a criticism, it's
do you accept the
awareness.
white man as a savior in Ghana? Do you accept that the white man as a savior in
Oh,
Ghana?
hell
Because
no.
we don't.
No, me not personally,
Why
no, but many
why
do,
are
my
you
brother.
bringing that
Even
up?
if you don't, you know that many do. You know many do.
If they
You
do,
know that.
I don't know that. I don't know that. If they do, that's their problem.
Okay.
But we don't see them as the savior. Now, I want to ask you a question. Are you familiar with Yiddish? Are you familiar with
Say again,
Yiddish?
sorry?
Yiddish, a language called Yiddish.
Yes.
Okay, you know what Yiddish is. You know that it's a mixture of German and Hebrew.
I know.
And it's used by Jewish communities all over the world. Now, given the contentious history of the Jews and Germany, should they stop using Yiddish as a language?
I'm not going to tell them to not use it as a not, to be honest, because okay, even if you're talking about, forget the German community, let's say the Jewish community, where would you say they derive from? Because there's many theories as where the Jewish community could derive from. So this falls into religion too. Like we're talking about language here. Language can be learned. Language is hold on. Language is irrelevant. We're talking about where you come from, culture. Language is irrelevant. You can learn many languages.
If I spoke Pidgin English to a white man, no white man would understand me because it's a different language.
No, you can't say
Pidgin English to a British person, they wouldn't understand what I'm saying.
That's why I say you're a bit. That's why I say that's a bit uneducated, because you can't say no white man will understand you. That's not correct.
You understand the sense. You understand which.
No. I'm only saying that. Listen, I'm only saying that because me being 30 something, there's white people that's growing up around Nigerians and Ghanaians that have got used to our culture and that will fall in Lagos and wherever and understand what you're saying. So don't say no white man will.
Exactly.
That's not correct.
They were born in Lagos or they've been around what will you call it, Nigerian influences. Take for example, American English. Let me finish. Sorry. American English. A British person doesn't need to be around American people for him to be able to understand American English because it is English, it is very similar. But you cannot, as a white man, understand Pidgin English if you have not been around people who speak Pidgin English. That's the point I'm getting at. It's a different language.
Correct. No, it's not a different language. No. It's a different dialect. That's it's not a different language. Language and dialect is different. That language, dialect, and accent are different. It's not the same. Language is a whole different set of what. No, listen. No, I'm just saying. Language is a different set of alphabet, words, verbs, nouns, and pronunciation. That's alphabet. Dialect is the same words but pronounced differently. That's different. If a white man's been around enough West Africans enough, he'll pick up Pidgin English. Just saying. Just carry on. That's different. There's a difference. It's just like nationality and race are different. And people like to put everything in one. But we've got to understand people are from different regions. It's just like if you go to an island like Jamaica, I know many Jamaicans. Why matters? You back it up. But you get people there that have a Jamaican accent, not even Jamaican. Forget saying Jamaican. Let's say Yardi accent. They look East Asian, Chinese. Some of them look white, but they're more Yardi than you. So it doesn't matter what color you are anymore. It's your region, your culture, where you brought up. Isn't that true? Why it matters? You'll get certain people in Jamaica that look white as anything, but they're more yardy than you.
White Yardie is a classic example, isn't it? You know White Yardie.
There you go.
UK, yeah.
But if you used to look at him before he spoke, you said this is a white man. But as soon as he spoke, he knows more about Kingston, St. Thomas, Montego Bay, these areas than you. You've never been there. He knows about it. So this is what I'm saying, bro. It doesn't matter about color anymore.
That white man, should he not be regarded as Jamaican because he's white?
Of course. No, because it goes beyond the race at that point. I regard culture.
The difference between Trevor? What's the difference between Trevor Phillips accepting the honors from the British royalty and the Jamaican white man who was immersed in Jamaican culture and him being regarded as a Jamaican?
Sorry. Say your actual question again. I missed it a bit. Sorry.
If you can disregard the color of the white man because he grew up in Jamaica and he speaks, he has the cultural affiliations of being a Jamaican. If you can accept him as a Jamaican, then why would you not extend that same logic or grace to a black man who is basically a British? His Britain is all is known all his life. Why would you not extend that same courtesy to him when he accepts a title from the British royalty, seeing that he is British just as much as the white man is Jamaican?
Oh, no, but I accepted that. I even called myself British Ghanaian. Do you notice I said British first? I'm British Ghanaian. When I go to Accra, Kumasi, East Legon, they call me white boy.
Exactly.
They will call me white boy. So, I can speak Ga or Street or as much as I want. They will say your accent's British, you're a white boy.
Exactly. That's you get what I'm saying. So even you being a black person, when you come to Africa, just for the fact that you've been in the Western world most of your life, you're going to be regarded as a white person. You get. So the thing is, this guy Trevor Phillips is a British citizen. Why should he not accept something that is available to any other British citizen? Is it because she's black? No, that shouldn't be a factor in whether or not he becomes.
No, do you know what? Accepting it is fine. No. Do you know what? I would personally say accepting it is fine, but you must be aware of there's disillusion with it as well. You must accept it to a point, but you know what? It's up to the individual to decide whether, because to be honest, accepting it is almost like saying, I know what's happened, but I forgive you. It's the optics. I think it's the optics. I think that's what it is. It's optics.
And we shouldn't be defined by optics. We should be defined by
it's how it looks. No, because you got to be fair. You got to be fair with media, with where we've grown up in media. How things look counts for a lot. You got to be honest, even if it's not fair. How it looks. So maybe sometimes how it looks, accepting this is almost like saying, "I accept your sorry," because it almost feels like knighthood, MBEs, all this stuff is like an apology. Is that fair to say?
My point is, it's fair to say. Now, my point is that black people should aspire to the highest office in whatever land they find themselves, as long as they've contributed to that land. So even if it's to be the king, if possible, to be the queen or whatever, black people should not be held back.
Yeah, but you know what though? But the thing is that for someone like myself, someone like White Matters, we can't aspire to that because we know we will never be the king or queen, or even, to be honest, near enough the mayor. Or look, they gave an Asian man the mayor of London, the main city of England, before a black man. That should say a lot. They gave an Indian man the mayor of London before a black man. So do you think we stand a chance?
So does that mean that a black man can never? Does that mean that a black man can never?
We've been here for longer than them, and they gave it to him before us. Why it matters?
It doesn't matter.
No, it does. It does. No, because you're not British. Why it matters? Why it matters? Please don't. No, is it? No. Wait. Please. Why it matters? Please. Even though it was years ago, don't you feel even a small percent disrespected that Sadiq Khan got mayor of London, the financial capital of the Western world, before a black guy? Please, do you feel disrespected? Because I did.
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm not from London, so I may have a different viewpoint. But
I'm from London.
Okay.
But yeah, go
I
on.
hear.
No, please.
Just to answer your question, KB. I hear what you're saying, and I suppose what could make it worse is it was a democratic vote. So this is the next thing I was going to say.
Bro.
So, and who was it? Sean Bailey. That's it. Sean Bailey went for Mayor of London next time around. Last time around, he didn't get it, and look at him since now. He's actually quit because of everything that's gone on. But that's another story.
He said, fuck it, bro. He said, fuck it.
Yeah. So, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. Sorry,
Is the mayor selected or elected? Is the mayor selected or elected?
He's elected. They're elected. Democratically.
So the people spoke.
Elected, bro.
The people spoke, and they choose an Asian man. What's the problem there?
Can I say
If it
something?
was selection and then they passed off a black man for an Asian man, then maybe I would have a problem. But if it was the people's choice and it was a free and fair election,
Okay, let me just say this. For you to say what's the problem there, that means you don't understand British politics. This is why I'm saying it's not when it comes to Britain, and you know what gets my nerves? People from the continent, people from Africa, people from North America, Canada, and even Asia dismiss British politics and optics as nothing because we're a mix. We have our own thing in Britain here. For an Asian man to get control of London before a black man, considering what's happened since 1940, to be specific, 1942, when the first Windrush ship came here, is a big disrespect. I wouldn't expect you to, if you're not from Britain, you won't get it. For London, I know there's big cities like Birmingham, Bristol, Liverpool, Leeds, etc. But for an Asian man to get London before a black man is a big disrespect. And you only get it if you're for British, because we bled for this country. If it wasn't for us, we wouldn't even have a real system. Why it matters, truth or not?
No, I hear you. Listen, the NHS workers. I remember the Bristol. Do you know, like they had the Rosa Parks, the one in Bristol. I hear all that. I mean, I was going for the history, so I hear all of that you're saying,
brother. So that's why it's a big disrespect, because, you know, and look how the city's gone since he's been mayor running this country. Look, I'm one of those people that say King Livingstone was a better mayor of London than even Sadiq Khan, and he's a white guy. He was a better mayor. Imagine that. I'm backing a white guy before an Indian guy. Imagine.
Is Sadiq Khan a worse mayor because of his ethnicity or his race or what have you?
Can I say something?
Do you know what? Partly because particularly with Britain, particularly India, Pakistan, like East Asia, South Asia, they have a big affinity with Britain. It goes back to the British Tea Party, the British Raj. They understand the assignment. They understand that they're the model minority, and part of them becoming the model minority is throwing black people under the bus. But what happened is, to get to that stage, is the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they aligned with black people to get some backing, and then went with white people when white people gave them a choice. Because what a lot of people don't know, and if you don't listen to British people, you won't know it, is in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, is black people were flourishing. Just like in America, just like Black Wall Street in New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Mississippi, all that, black people in this small island were flourishing. But what they did is rejected us loans, they rejected us houses, they rejected us land. And what they did with the Asians, because they've got the straight hair, slightly lighter skin, and they're ready to say, yes, sir, no, sir, they gave them the loans. Because unless you come to Britain, unless you come to London, Bristol, Birmingham, Notts, Cov, Leeds, Manchester, Liverpool, you will see in the black quote-unquote areas, the businesses where they're actually making money is run by the Asians. They rejected us and gave it to them. This is why I'm saying this. We have our own situation. The Asians are the model minority. They find them aesthetically pleasing. Their hair is straighter. Their skin is a bit lighter. They're willing to say yes. We have our own situation here. If you take it to Africa, British Asians remind me of Asian Kenyans, Asian Ugandans. My brother, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. They're African when they're ready, but they're Asian another time. That reminds me of British Asians. They're minorities at one time, next time they side with white people. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying you have to have been here to understand. Again, anyone British, why it matters, Jesse, I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. Leicester, Nottingham, Birmingham, Oldham, Greater Manchester, Salford, Bradford. These are cities where Asians run by the Asian British, but they're still a minority. I'm shutting up now.
Okay.
No, I want to let that flow a little bit. So I'm definitely get Charles. I just want to get Jesse. I know that you wanted to chime in. So Jesse.
Yeah, I want to keep it on topic, but I just want to just debunk something that was said about does like the British have a power over Ghana and Nigeria? They do, because they're still part of the Commonwealth, aren't they? Member states. Boris Johnson is the chairman of the Commonwealth, because isn't the person that is to do with the Commonwealth is the Queen and basically the Prime Minister of England. So that answers that question. I do. Britain still does have power over Nigeria and Ghana. So yeah.
What's the power of the Commonwealth? What's the power, political power, economic power held by the Commonwealth over the nations that are part of it?
Well, I can't really answer that, but that's maybe more research I need to do. I'm not gonna say.
So what's the Commonwealth? What's the idea behind the Commonwealth?
Commonwealth
is it voluntary? Can you pull out?
It's basically creating. I think it's creating own states or basically British colonies. But yet again, I'm not exactly well versed in it. I'm just aware of who's in it and who is. So I have to do more research. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to talk on something I don't know 100% about, but I just know that of a fact that there is African continents or not African countries that the British do still have control over. I know Barbados recently, even though that's not African, it's Caribbean. Basically, got republic or independence. So that's just really that. But what KB was saying about some of how can I really put it? What I want to know, right, is what are the laws that was put in place during those times that was institutionally racist towards blacks, but also gave British Indians more privileges. If you could like it could be another time. You could DM me whatever, because I want to look into that. So that's a pretty interesting thing. But regarding the mayor situation, I don't know. Like, that's just me though. I just think it's just democracy. In the end of the day, it's whoever gets elected, right? So I don't really know. Regarding the Sean Bailey situation, I think it was the photo. You know, the photo when he was caught in the photo when he was doing a party during lockdown protocol. I think that's why he stepped down. I don't know, but that's just me though. But again, this is the problem. Is like here we need to understand that like even though yes, some like we are black, we do have cultural differences. We do have different histories. You know, this is why I just feel as if my issue is sometimes like this OB like what we're meant to be talking about now is should we be taking OBE? Is sometimes we're inherent in problems or issues from other continents or other countries that has nothing to do with us. For example, what I see that is very common in the UK is like the UK basically taking on American problems, like inherent American problems that just does not exist in the UK. But that's all I got to really say. If why Matt, you got anything to say or add on top of that?
No, what I'll do is, Charles, I know you had something in the chat you wanted to sort of pick up on your point, Jesse. So I'm going to hopefully let it just flow, not say too much. So, but Charles, you said you wanted to comment on something, well, the Commonwealth issue.
Yeah. So about the Commonwealth stuff, when the question was asked, what power does the British still have over Nigeria, and they're using the Commonwealth as an example. Well, that's not an example of having power, because the Commonwealth is nothing other than just a social club of former British colonies. You understand? There's no binding binding allegiance. Anybody can decide to pull out at any time. There is no laws that is being imposed by Britain over the Commonwealth countries. So that is not control. In fact, there are some countries, I think, is it not Australia or one country in Americas that the Queen is still the head of state of that country. The Queen is not the head of state of any African nation. Nowhere in the world is the Queen still the head of state of any African nation. So citing the Commonwealth as an example of control doesn't fly.
Yeah, I mean, the Commonwealth, though, to answer your point, I know that you made, it's a voluntary association. So it did come off the back of where the Queen was the head of state. So Canada, I think, is the nation you're thinking of, where the Queen is still the head of state. So I think the Commonwealth at the end was set up to try and, if it almost support, or some people say control, the nations after colonization. And then obviously after some nations got independence and a republic, that's where, again, a lot of African nations, the Queen isn't the head of state, whereas like other Caribbean nations, the Queen is still the head of state because it may have been independent, but they're not republics. So that's kind of how the difference is when it comes to the two. But I kind of want to I wanted to get back onto topic a little bit because I think we've sort of veered off a little bit, but not too much. I think it's all quite the same. But do you think that I almost lost my train of thought here? So we as people, we always complaining about we always have a standard that we want to try and attain to. So would you have any sort of problems at all with I can't even get my thought out of this thing. One second. Right. Sorry, my bad. I want to bring up, there was a comment in the chat. I just want to see what that was. Give me 1 second, people. One sec. Losing my thought all the way today. So it was about the past. That was what I was trying to get to. And I want to bring up, I don't know if you would know this, the footballer James McLean. Now, the poppies in the UK is a massive thing, Remembrance Day. So every footballer, everyone, they wear poppies to celebrate or commemorate all the fallen soldiers that died. Now, this was a long time ago, etc. And a lot of these soldiers, they didn't choose to go into war. It just is what it is. But James McLean himself, he was the one who decided, because of the links and the history that his people, he was Irish, and what happened in the Troubles, he was like, no, screw this. I don't want to commemorate Remembrance Day. I don't want to commemorate the poppies. I'm going to turn my back. So what he's hated in England because of this fact, because of the history, which he still holds dear to himself right now, and he teaches his children about it, whether people like it, agree with it or not. It's a part of history. So he himself, he turned his back on that fact because to one group of people, the poppy represents freedom, it represents liberty, represents our people dying for us. For another set of people, and I include Serbians as well, it represents something else. So the question is, can it represent two things for two different people? And do you understand why I will say that's probably why a lot of black people say, no, screw this. I'm not wearing this. It's almost like wearing a poppy. It commemorates or celebrates the conquering of my people, even if it was in the past. That's what I wanted to get at.
I could interject on that.
Yeah,
I could, again, symbolism can mean can be seen in different ways depending on your culture and where you're from, right? And also, it could also have a perspective as well. For example, you've got the George's flag, right? So George's flag, there's being bad done under the flag and there's being good done under the flag, and that can be different things, even British culture or any culture in general, based off the history that could represent many different things, for different people. So it's really based on the individual and how they perceive it. That's how I really look at things in regards to that. So, like you said with Remembrance Day or, the poppy, for one person, the poppy could represent freedom, liberty, and victory. One person could see the poppy as a symbol of slaughter of one people, or vice versa. It's all really contextual and how people basically perceive it based off of their ideas, their morals, and their values, and also their culture. That's how I really look at it.
Okay. So I think I agree. You know, things take on the meaning that we give to them. Nothing inherently has any meaning of its own, and they become what we say it is. So at times, I think some of these things that trigger Black people so much should just be taken by Black people and redefined and given another meaning that we can, own and be powerful about. We shouldn't always be reactionary and say, okay, because somehow the white man has defined this thing to us in a negative sense, then we cannot use it, we cannot adopt it. We have to start redefining things for ourselves. I was just a short while ago, I was listening to that conversation on Twitter about this NFT stuff and all that. And someone made one Black guy made a very important observation. He says, what if the alt-right decides to take a cardboard box and use it as part of their symbol? Should Black people no longer use cardboard boxes because the alt-right used it? What if racists decide to adopt cars as their symbol? Should Black people no longer use cars because somehow the racist and alt-right people have sort of attached a certain meaning to it? So we can define things, we can redefine things, and we can give them meanings that are relevant to us and should not be defined by what meanings other people have given to it. So that's just my 2 cents.
No, I hear you, and there's another famous example which I thought you was going to mention, the N word. Now that is a term that has been used to dehumanize, and now apparently it's a term of endearment, and a lot of people do not like that. So I don't know. Sometimes my answer to you will be it all depends on the origin. So I know what you're saying. Words do have power, well, and things have power based on how you give it to them. But there are certain things which I don't know. Maybe it transcends all of that. Now, it's not to say things can't change, but there's certain symbols which, as much as people want to try and say, you know what, yeah, it's different. There's certain things where is it too powerful of an attachment, if you see what I'm saying, that people can't actually just forget about it. There's certain things that people can't forget or forgive, and maybe certain things yes, certain things no. African Empress, welcome. Hope you're doing well. All good? If you're speaking, we can't hear you. I don't know. Is everything? I mean, I suppose why get your audio sorted out? Any response to what I've just said there at all?
Yeah. Well, what can I say?
No,
The truth is, I don't know. Maybe because I'm in the continent of Africa, so definitely I'll see things differently from other Black people that are living in the West. I can understand that the experiences are different, but at least I know enough about what's happening in the West to make reasonable commentary. I still think that there is no word, there is no idea, there is no philosophy, there is no concept that is cast on stone forever, that cannot be changed or that cannot be redefined. You understand? So we should, uh, and another thing I wanted to get at was that we should try and celebrate Black excellence more. We shouldn't always be, when it comes to only the negative aspects, that the conversation has to surround Black people. With this thing we're doing on YouTube, we should highlight Black successes. And I think this is a big success for Black people. Trevor Phillips being knighted, it's a big thing as a Black person. So Black people, wherever they are, should aspire to the highest possible whatever, in as long as they're part of that society, because you are contributing to that society. Why shouldn't you reap the rewards of that society? It's either you're in or you're out. If you know that the British system is not working for you, know, you can go somewhere else, and so that you know you're totally out, you're totally disconnected from that system that has oppressed your people.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I mean, here's how I see it. It's all about two things. It's your personal viewpoint on the society. So people like Kahinda Andrews and people like Benjamin Zephaniah, people like Lewis Hamilton. I think those people who have come out in staunch opposition of empire and whatnot, I would say those are the type of people who should not accept awards. Now, Lewis did, which I have issue with. Other people who seem to take a different viewpoint, I have no problem with them taking it. I think for me, it's optics. It's image is such a powerful thing where even though we try and do this little wordplay or do this sort of contortion of history, it's such a powerful thing where even though I agree with you, we should celebrate Black excellence, and I agree with that. But I suppose this is kind of a little bit different. This is more of a, especially if you understand how the selection process works, this is like a favoritism. This is more like a people get selected on a group, on a committee, and they're the ones who decide who gets the honors. There's a lot of politics, funny enough, when it comes to this award. It's never a clear cut, you are the best person for
Exactly.
the award. So
And
it's
black
either
people should be involved in politics too. So if politics is involved, it seems that a black man has played his politics well.
maybe, or you could be, again, as people say it, selling out. And that's when we want to say the optics.
Yeah, politics is about selling out anyway.
Fair. African Empress, is everything all good? Is your audio working? Yeah. Can't hear you at all. But Fiona raised a good question. And I've always had an opinion on this, but what about biracial people? Like, again, Lewis Hamilton's another one, Mel B. Who else is one who's biracial? Oh, I did a video on this. I forgot what the brother's name is, but there's a few. Shirley Bassey, she's biracial. And they've all accepted the award. They're all knights, sirs, dames. Jess Ennis, she's a dame, and they're all biracial. Now, I suppose, does it still apply? Jesse, what do you think?
You know what I think is right. I don't see it like I don't see what the issue is if a biracial person gets knighted. I don't see like it should be any different. At the end of the day, we're British. You know, we were born here. We were born British. And you know, we live here, and we try our best to basically bring value to the country. You know, and that's just really how it just really should be. You know, this is why I look at Benjamin Zephaniah and I say, hey, look, you know, it's his decision, his choice. That's how we see things. Lewis Hamilton, that one there just still confuses me. But that's just really that. I don't see how if someone's racial or biracial makes it. I mean, that not racial. If someone's black or is just biracial should make a difference because at the end of the day they're British. That's just how I see it.
No, fair enough, Jesse. But yeah, Charles, no, awesome. Thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure. So you're always welcome back. I know it got quite heated with you and KB, but I'm pretty sure KB meant no disrespect. He's not that type of brother. So yeah, by all means, you're welcome to.
No, I didn't. I didn't feel disrespected at all. It's part of the conversation. I don't get that offended easily. So I hope he wasn't offended by me anyway.
There was one last thing I wanted to ask on this because this is a conversation I've not had with a lot of Africans, but I did speak with another brother and he came up. Do you know voodoo in Africa? How is that seen? Because apparently that has always been seen as the original, but a lot of Africans are here see voodoo in a very negative light because of a lot of them Christians or Muslim. I just wanted to ask that one question because I know you talk about image and whatnot. So how is voodoo seen on the continent, or at least where you are from your experience?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to the Christians, voodoo is negative. If you're talking to the Muslims, voodoo is simply negative. But there are pockets of traditionalists that still practice such things, and there are some very tiny minority of Christians and tiny minority of Muslims that combine their traditional faiths with the Christianity or or Islam. But it depends. So when you go to the villages, that's when you see traditional practices. But most of the city centers is majorly just Islam or Christianity. So it's not seen in the most positive light.
Okay, fair enough. Then, and I don't know whether any of them ostracized. So, are they outward practicing like people who do voodoo, or are they have to keep themselves quite quiet, hush hush, so you don't really know
So
because of the
okay,
ritual?
maybe I got it wrong. What do you mean by voodoo? What do you mean by voodoo?
Okay, so what I know, this is what I know of. So apologies if I'm a bit ignorant on this one. I'm a little bit ignorant. But there's a lot of practices in which like the voodoo priests. So I assumed it was more of a like another religion or another way of life, maybe similar to Christianity and Islam. I don't know. You'd have to inform me better, but that's how I saw it as.
You know, when we hear voodoo, what comes to mind is some some sort of evil practice, you understand, which is
Mhm.
quite different from the traditional religions that people practice. And people in villages, they have their own gods. There's some people that still worship their traditional gods and all that. And those things are not regarded as voodoo because it's their religion, it's their traditional religion. You understand? So voodoo has to do with maybe using black magic, using some has some negative connotations to it, at least the way we understand it in this part of the world that I'm in. So people who practice their traditional faiths will not tell you that it's voodoo. They'll just tell you they are simply worshiping the gods of their ancestors. And when you go for burial, some marriages in the villages, they would pray to these ancestors, invoke the ancestors, ask for their blessings, make libations to them, and all that. So mostly those settings happen in the villages, and yeah.
Okay, no, fair enough. But yeah, it's definitely something I wanted just to ask before you leave. But no, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, gotta hop off, guys. So catch you guys in another live stream.
No worries. But yeah, everyone in the chat, link is posted, is pinned to the first message. But if you can't see it for whatever reason, I've put the link in the chat. Now I kind of want to sort of move the conversation on because in typical like black people fashion, we do this with everything. When it comes to we want our own newspapers, The Voice, or our publications, even when it comes to music awards, whenever we feel like we're not included, we create our own, which is fair. I agree with that. A lot of times I think instead of complaining to the structures, the powers that be, we should create our own stuff. Again, Mobo's being a classic example. Now, do you think that it could never work the same? Don't get me wrong. But do you think we should have our own sort of award systems, which would almost act as a precursor to say you are recognized as the highest in land? Would that even work, or would that something that would you even agree with?
For me, I'll say no. I would say no. It's the same thing with my idea of I actually did. I remember telling you in the comments why I don't co-sign
Oh, the
Black
Black
Power.
Pound. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, yeah. I got time for that actually. Yeah, go ahead because it all ties in, I suppose. Yeah, go
right.
ahead.
So, like, people. Here's how I really look at it. Right. I'll say I'll go on the award thing and then I'll segue into the Black Pound Day stuff. Right. Because the first question was the awards. Right. The way I see it, it's everyone's different, right? But the thing is in the end of the day, we're British, right? So what is it that you're trying to create? Like all these, how can I really put it? All these like ceremonies and these awards, the MBE, OBE, CBE. This this is also dipped in history, right? It's also dipped in class as well, right? And in my opinion, if black people want to do it, great, they could do that, right? If they want to make their own award and recognize, cool, right? But my issue is are we gonna start recognizing the right people? Because what I mean by this is, if you look at the community as a whole, I'm not saying all, is we tend to elevate the underbelly of the community more than what is seemed as positive. Would you agree, yes or no?
I'd say that gets the most spotlight, and there's a reason why.
Right.
I don't want to go too off tangent, but it's probably a
Right.
topic I wanted to do. It's because the smart brothers, they leave as opposed to actually supporting. So it looks like the smart brothers and sisters, what they look to do to glean to white society, hence you could argue the OBEs, the MBEs, the SIRs, as opposed to asserting a different type of, I don't know, elevation in the black community. So the lower class, that's where they are the ones who control the things, because the ones who got, let's just put this in air quotes, some sense, they leave the first chance that they can get. You see what I
Right.
mean? So that's what I'd say to that.
Okay, so if they were to do that, they have to acknowledge all types of people, right? If they were to do these type of awards, but in my opinion, I don't think these awards should happen. I think because again, this is the thing: it's the double-edged sword. Is do you want inclusivity or do you want segregation? Because that's really what, like, it's a bit, you're leaning to a bit of both. It's like black people in the history of Britain, they wanted to come over here and they basically wanted acceptance. They wanted um inclusion, right? They wanted to be included with everybody, right? So when I really look at the grand scheme of things, is like once you start doing that, you're kind of putting a step backwards. If you get what I'm saying, in regards of inclusivity, yeah, and you're more swayed towards segregation. Now, again, I understand that people of different cultures could come to this country, and because of their cultural differences, they could be all British, but they could all have different, let's say, experiences based off their cultural differences, right? So that could be another argument. But in my opinion, I would say no. I don't really think we need an award, a black award to award black ass. I just think it should just be a British thing, so on and so forth. But if it's a more cultural thing, maybe a descendant of, not a descendant, but an African Caribbean or African or whatever, cool, then that may be something different. But that's not necessarily to do with race. It's more to do with culture. You understand? So I would say more move to the cultural side of things instead of the racial side of things, if they were to do an award, right? Now, I would say why I don't agree with Black Pound Day is, first off, you have to look at this at a business point of view, right? And there's only 3% of, let's say, ethnic minorities, right? Right, you said Asians do air their own magazines. Well, if that's the case, that's what they do. But what I'm saying is in Black Pound Day, in my opinion, why I don't agree with it is I don't think it's beneficial to, in terms of building wealth, because when you're making business and you want to make money, you really want to make the most you possibly can make, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Right. So here's what black people need to understand: is they're the minority, right? There's only 3% of you, and not all that 3% is invested in the 3% who are making this Black Pound Day, right?
Okay.
Right. You understand?
Right? Yeah, I get you. I think you're missing the point a little bit, but continue.
Right.
I'm gonna continue.
No, you could tell me why I'm missing the point if you want. I don't mind.
Sure. I think, and most cultures, all cultures, first off, they sell their own culture to themselves. I know you mentioned what controversial but true said, which is true. Asians, they build up their own ecosystem when they're in their communities, and if you look at their clientele, it's not exclusively Asians, but you could tell it's an Asian area, and Asians support it. Is it all their Asian population support it? I don't think it is. But as a basis, they support their own. They cater to their own. They sell their own culture to their own people. Whereas us, the Black Pound Day, is just to say, look, we need to do that as a starting base, not excluding anyone,
Right.
but as a starting base, we need to have that because we don't. I did a stat on the stream. I don't know if you caught it. 95% of our money gets spent outside of our communities. Now, there's some historical reasons. I went over in the stream about bad customer service and business. We're not really like good business acumen, I don't think, and all this kind of other stuff. But ultimately, as a starting base, if you can't sell your own culture to your own people, you're never going to get anywhere in life, in my humble opinion. Which is why you have Turtle Bay is run by someone who's not of the culture. Tropical Sun owned by someone not of the culture. It's because we as a people have not controlled our own culture. That's kind of how I see Black Pound Day, and it's bigger than just saying, "Oh, we're only just 3%." That's it's much bigger than that. Every other group sell their own culture, but we seem to have a problem with that. It's criminal.
Right. So I agree. I agree to an extent in regards of Black people don't support their own businesses, but I look at it in terms of, does it really matter who the money comes from if it's going in that person's pocket in the first place, regardless of race?
No, you're right. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Right.
So who gets that money? That's the question. Who gets it?
But it's the person who owns the business.
And that's the thing where I say even our own business that cater to us, we don't own it. See how it starts? See what I mean? Where I say, because we've neglected what we should be doing, we go to other people and they realize, Black people obviously weave all that kind of do-rags, face cream, hair cream, all that kind of other stuff. They're like this, they've got their own culture that they're not even buying from themselves. So they set up shop and we allow that to happen because it all starts because we don't have a foundation of we support each other like other cultures do.
Right. So wouldn't it make sense, right? Because it might, as you know, we're economically, or economically we're at the bottom, right? Not the social economic, I mean like economically in terms of finances, right? And we're a big consumer. Wouldn't it just make sense? Because if we're trying to make 3%, like the 3%, make the money circulate, wouldn't it make sense to create value in the business market that would cater to everyone, right? Because let's be real, there's people out there, no matter what race, what culture, whatever, where they're going to have products that they're going to need. Wouldn't it make sense, as if Black people or people of African, Caribbean descent or whatever, create items that would actually cater to everyone so that they will make more wealth, right? And I think, in my opinion, I don't think it's a business problem. I think it's an ownership problem more. I think it's the fact that Black people are so quick to sell their stuff instead of actually keep what they have and then own their stuff in the long run. I think it's a post-gratification issue, in my opinion. Like, they want the fast money and they want to get out. But in that sense, they compromise their culture by doing that.
But this is the thing, isn't it? This is where two things here. Every culture starts off with, let's say you're Mexican, you're going to have a Mexican joint. If you're Spanish, you have a Spanish joint. If you are Indian, you have a curry house. But again, it's all owned by them. And at the first off, it catered towards them. Then they build up a basis. So all this is trying to do is we unfortunately haven't got a solid basis. So yes, there will be other businesses which will, I don't know, like a perfume or a rum shop, a cheesecake shop, which will definitely be able to cater to anybody else. But most of people's businesses at the beginning is all about their culture, selling it to the world. But in order to do that first off, they sell their culture to their own people because their own people is likely going to want to partake in their own foods, their own barbershops, the classic example, hair shops. Those are things which are almost our foundation, but we can't even get that right. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I see that. So would you say it's more? What would you say it's more of a business literacy issue, or is this Black people just not versed in business as we should be? Well, I would say in the UK, because I know in other places, Black people doing pretty well, right? But I'll say specifically here, right, so that we could narrow down and be specific, right? Yep. Would you say it's more to? I would say it's more to. Well, would you say it's more to do with the business literacy and knowing of business, and basically how to conduct business is the issue than let's just say selling the culture, right?
The thing is, it's kind of all of those things, and it kind of ties into this conversation in a way. So yes, I think there is issues for definite when it comes to business literacy. There's certain things I look at things like you're never going to work because it's never set up right in the first place, 100%. But there are also things about we instinctively, and someone in the chat, Fiona in the chat said it, that we want to be instinctively inclusive at the detriment of our own people. The awards situation, I guarantee, and this is just me, in a parallel universe, if we had an equivalent Black Awards given by African priests and priestesses, or a European award, same title, same everything, I guarantee we'll take the European award because we see that in higher prestige. I don't know why, but that's my analysis, and that's kind of everything. It's like we see it differently. We see it as this higher prestige, maybe because the word, again, we talk about word association, it seems a lesser inferior product. So same with our own culture. Whenever somebody else sells our culture, I don't know what it is, but instinctively it seems like a superior product. Even if the food ain't nice, even if the product ain't nice, but it just aesthetically, the image, maybe word association, culture association, name it what you want to. But it seems right now, again, 20, 30 years of future, it could all change. I hope it changes. We don't seem to see ourselves in a light as probably we should do, or other people would if it was theirs. You see what I mean?
Right. So what it sounds like is Black people got a self-hatred problem.
Well, this is the whole. But this is where the Black Pound Day comes in. This is where the movement, and this is where I sort of had to check myself on it. This is where loving yourself. This is how it's not. This is what loving yourself looks like. It's not about hating anyone else. This is what loving yourself looks like.
I agree.
You see what I mean? So this is why I was like, I get what you're saying from we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves, but at first, let's set the foundation right. Let's set what we need to set right, and then we can't go out and conquer the world. It's not as if other people don't like our culture, our food, but we just need to make sure we're in control of it in the most part. You know what I mean?
Right. But here's like another issue that we also come into when we do that too, is what happened to inclusion? So let me get this straight, right? Black people want inclusion from, well, I would say from other cultures, right? Even though I know Black Pound Day isn't saying, hey, only Black people could shop at these shops, right? That's not what Black Pound Day is saying. But if you look at the marketing and how it's presented, it's like it's only for Black people. So when you understand that there's some minorities, I won't say minorities, well, white people or let's say other cultures would feel kind of alienated from that. And would that not affect the business in general for Black people if they have this idea that, hey, you got to shop Black? Because here's how I see it, right? I could be wrong, right? When I look at other businesses, Asian businesses, because I've seen how a few operate. I'm around London and I've been, various places. I don't really think they're trying to sell. When you look at the shops and the shop names, it's like even the word Black Pound Day, right? Are they trying to sell race? You don't really see other communities really just trying to sell race. It's more selling the culture. Because of the word Black Pound Day.
Jesse, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, go on.
It's KB, bro. How you doing, brother? You good?
Very good.
Bro, your question is very valid. I agree with you. The only problem we have is when it comes to, and we're all British here, so you guys will all relate to what I'm saying. When it comes to Asian people and let's say Caucasian English people, let's say, because people outside of Britain don't understand, when it comes to minority stuff, Asian, brown, whatever, the brown and black coalition, whatever, that don't exist in England. When it comes to Asian people, they side with white people rather than Black people. The problem is, and I see your question, bro, and me, we chat, bro. We chat. We even on Insta, we talk, we talk, brother. But the problem is with the Asian people, even though they're minority, they still side with the Caucasian English. And this is where the problem is. Because I see where you're coming from, and this is why I want to jump in, because I know you're a British brother, so you get it. But the problem is we have a different type of problem here when it comes to the UK. Because they would rather side with, I don't want to say them rather than us, but it is kind of them rather than us. Because I'm somebody, You know, you guys, anyone that knows me, KB Jones, I'm very much a millennial. I don't really want to believe in this, you know, different culture, different race thing, but it's a reality. It's a reality, you know, but I don't really want it. But when it comes to the Asian people, they really want to be British and assigned with at least English, British, white people. That's fine. That's their own prerogative. But the problem is, it's just it falls into this whole BAME minority system because it's again people of that that are affinity with sort of the black cultures get used because there's this whole BAME minority system. It's
Yeah,
kind of useful when needed and not useful when other times. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And this is where the problem lies. It's really difficult for us because it's almost like if we go too far out of pocket, but if we fall too small, we're like you're a coon. You know what I mean, bro?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's really difficult for us. We're in a really difficult place. But even yourself, Jesse, because I know it's a bit more difficult for you because you've got that literal. I mean, do you? I mean, I don't know your personal family and
Yeah.
friend situation, but do you feel the personal pressure of trying to, if you know what I mean, pick a side? Do you feel pressure to pick a side?
Alright, here's how I'll explain because I see Matter and I want him to talk too, right? Everyone gets to talk, right? Because I don't want to be too long winded. Is it? Here's how I do it, right? The thing is I've got friends from many cultures, right? I'm from London. I'm from Southwest, right? And I got white people. I got Asian friends. I got everyone you can raise a figure, right? What I try to do is try to understand their cultures too. So I see, for example, I'm a black person, right, and I'm from the UK, right. I have a lot of I have white friends, right. They talk to me about British history and so on and so forth, right. And I have Asians over there will talk to me. But now, what I try to do is try to understand their point of views too, so that I could have an understanding and see how that also intertwines with my culture too. You understand? So I don't really pick a side. I just pick what's the truth. You understand? Even though
Mm,
I
mm,
feel, even though I feel there's some uncomfortable conversations that need to be spoken about. For example, my friends, especially like some of my white friends or some of my Asians, we have some really uncomfortable conversations, bro. But because we have the emotional intelligence to understand, look, these things have happened, and unfortunately, these things have happened doesn't mean that we should be divided by what happened in history. You understand? Because you may have one individual there that is Asian, you may have one individual there that is white, you may have one individual person that's Chinese, right? In the end, they was individuals, right? It's really about the content of the character than the color of the skin, right? But I do admit it is sometimes difficult because there's sometimes times where I'm telling some black people the truth about what is really happening in the community. Because the thing is I've gone around places. I've been even though I've lived in a predominantly white area, right? Most of my life.
mm,
I
mm,
know
mm,
that, but I've also been in black communities too. I've been in some Asian communities too because I've had family that are also Asian as well because my grandfather, if you look at my grandfather, he looks Asian, right? He look Asian, but my mum also black. So there's a bit it's interesting, but I call myself black because my dad and my mother is basically black, right? Trinidad and Grenada, right? So
mm,
when
mm.
I care about the truth, I don't care about race in the end of the day, right? I care about what is the truth, what is the solution, and what is effective that could basically progress this country and people in general into a better state. That's how I look at things. That's why I don't really, if you notice, I don't really get emotional over certain things that are said, right? Because I know that whatever they say won't affect my well-being and it won't affect or change how I think, only unless it's factual and evident, right? So that's why it is. I admit it is difficult, but I try to understand why certain people act a certain way, and I try to understand from their point of view. I don't just specifically black. That's what I say.
Sorry, that's Madera. I had to mute you. Continue, Jesse.
So yeah, it is difficult, but I understand that. I just try to understand things and just look at things from a different point of view, you know, and that's how I just basically move forward, you know. But unfortunately, when I do talk about certain issues in the black community and I am truthful about it, I have gone through quite a lot. But this isn't through saying things in hate, right? It's just in love and just truth. You know, for example, I say, look, the black and black crime, the black and black crime that's happening in London is ridiculous. What's going on is ridiculous. I point it out. But I don't try to be negative. I just try to be real. You know, like that's how I really see it. Because I'll be honest with you, like KB man, like I walked at one point. I walked away from the black community because it's like you try to point out the problems and you point them towards solutions, but sometimes they just want to be they don't want to do the hard work. Sometimes they just want to be entertained. That's why.
Do you know what, my brother? Do you know what, my brother? I will 100% agree with that, regardless of race, culture, country, origin, and the problems. There is a section of people that like to complain, and I'm embarrassed to say a lot of them are men when it comes to gender, whatever culture, background, race. But I agree with you, brother, and thank you, because I heard what you said at the end. I'm not perfect. I don't even try to pretend to be perfect, but I'm trying. And I feel like our whole community, and why it matters, I don't mean to interject, and Jesse too, but I just want to say a quick RIP to Catherine Magomu. Those who know her, spoke to her, interacted with her. She was a black woman that was really, really real, honest. Yeah, she passed away. I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but yeah,
I didn't know that. I was on live stream with her, like I think once or perhaps even twice.
My brother, I only heard within the last 12 to 24 hours. I feel like I was late to it, but she's gone. I've had certain parts today where I'm not even gonna lie. If anyone that knows me, I'll keep it real. I've cried today over her. My wife has even given me a hug because she's seen me interact with her, and Catherine is one of. I got to keep it real. She's one of the first, I've got to say, females, at least on this platform, that let me open up. Like I was on a platform talking about my experience with my dad. Do you know what I mean? Like it's real like that. Do you know what I mean? She asked me a question and it cut me deep. Like I started talking on the internet. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just gonna drop the GoFundMe in the chat. So there's a link for the GoFundMe if you want to donate.
I mean, she was like a very nice person, to be honest.
She was very, very real. Absolutely. She was very real. I've got to be honest.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if you want to say anything else, KB. But no.
I'm cool. I'm cool. Just
cool. I don't know if you want to respond to what Jesse was saying or anything. But yeah, one thing I just want to say before I go to Ozzy, because I appreciate you not really said anything, Ozzy, on what Jesse's saying. Not to go again too off topic, but it's all good. We'll go back on topic, no joke. One thing which I've always noticed, I hear what you're saying. I think we probably, there's a way how we go about things in the black community which probably isn't in. It doesn't. The optics always put people off. I think that's one of the main things that we unfortunately have probably a bad habit of doing. Whereas other communities, they seem to on the low do things what we should be doing. So one of the things I've always noticed is whenever I've gone to like Asian shops or something, there's an energy I feel. I don't know if anyone's ever witnessed this, where I'm just like, I feel like I'm the odd person out. They don't say anything to me like that. I buy what I need to buy, I do what I need to do, and I leave. I think you're echoing. I don't know if you've got YouTube on in the background, but yeah, you're definitely echoing like crazy. But there's an energy there, which I don't know what it is, but they seem to have it on lock when it comes to their own selling their own culture, their own finances, make sure that their own people are actually shopping from their own people. They seem to have it on lock, and they don't like say no outsiders because they accept anyone's finances. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know what it is. They're just like this. Their own people will shop at their own stores. I don't know. It just seems to me like for us, it's probably just how we market ourselves, and the optics of Black Pound. It looks a bit worse than actually what it's intended to do. I think that's just probably one of the main things that I still have a problem with.
Can I say something regarding that as well? Just
Yeah. Go ahead.
Here's what I see regarding the Black Pound Day, right? Is it's the word black that's the problem, right? And I'll explain why, right? I would say this, right? If Black Pound Day changed its name to the Afro Pound Day or Carib Afro Pound Day, right? Or nonsense, I think it would get a better reception amongst everyone, period. And I think more people would support it. Because,
Really? You think so?
Yeah, I do. Because the thing is, it's like, again, there's like, with the white yardie situation, even though that is a minority situation, like, for example, I don't even know because I haven't even been to Jamaica, so what am I talking about? But is, there could be white Africans. There could
there are.
Right, that's what I'm saying. There's, Arab Africans from, let's say, Egypt. Money will probably come in from that because it excludes. Now you've taken out race and now you've put in culture. People from different cultures will probably support that, and then from the part of that, not just black people will also make money from that, and people from that continent or descendants or people who live in it here, but or descendants, right, Africans or Caribbeans, would still make the money, and that money would still go to black people, and also that would also go to other, ethnicity groups as well. In my opinion, like I think that would work. And the other thing also you got to take into consideration regarding Black Pound Day as well is how long was Black Pound Day going on for? Did it really pop off because of George Floyd's death and because Google started to endorse it?
No. This was done by Swiss. So
right.
He was the one who started it off. Obviously, off the back of everything went on, but it was a movement by him, and it's been, the steam started earlier on 2020. It started in Jan 2020 or 2020.
2020.
But yeah, so it was from him, and it's still got a lot of steam, and
that's good.
So it's something which I will say this, and not a lot of mainstream people are actually promoting, but and this is it. I think this is more of a call to arms to us as a community than us as to call out to the wider world. That's what I think it's more to do with, as opposed to saying, "Oh, we're going to exclude everyone else." I think, but again, it's all about optics. But yeah, I think if we haven't had it, I don't think anything would have changed anyway. So I don't know about, he said that if it was Afro, Carib, except for black, I don't know if it would even make a difference, because in a lot of white people's eyes, I think African, Carib, they all know what it is. It's code, isn't it? They're not. I think they're not silly. I think they all know it's code word for black. Like BAME, white people say, "Oh, it's code for black." That's why a lot of minorities see it that way. So,
but who created BAME though?
Can I jump in? Please?
Yeah, go on.
You know what? This whole
honestly, no joke.
Calm. Yo, bros, you know what? You lot are talking real bars. Do you know what? In Britain, we've got a different problem because it's hard because we could do well to split the difference between things like BAME, people of color, and black people in Britain. The problem is in America, they've got more of a split, which is a bad thing, but a good thing. Bad thing because of segregation, and they could do with more integration. I think with Britain and a lot of mainland Europe, we do better with integration. But at the same time, when it comes to integration, the core deep of it, then there's a split. I'll even say, even recently, anyone that follows English, the Premier League, the football, I'm a Liverpool supporter. Anyone knows me, I support Liverpool. I'm from London, but I'm an 80s baby. John Barnes, etc. I'm a Liverpool supporter. Racial tension. My family sort sort of favored Liverpool and what's going on. But even recently, Romelu Lukaku with Chelsea, anyone that knows that follows any sort of football with Chelsea, what he said recently, like, I favored Inter Milan, the Italian fans, loved me, I scored a lot of goals, I did well, I with Jose. And now he's come to Chelsea and he said, you know what, I'm glad to be back here, but this isn't my preferred choice. And if you even look on things like TalkSport, Sky Sports, these sort of things, you will see how much racial anger comes out very quickly. And it's very hard for us English ethnic people. I'm not going to say black people, English ethnic people, because we have influence from outside America, the continent, mainland Europe, etc. And everyone sort of pushes influence onto us, and we're like the little brother, the little sister of ethnic people. It's like we have a voice, but then we're secondary. Does anyone agree with that? Like, it's like we have our own problems, but we're kind of like always like, but you lot are just like second.
Yeah, I hear you, yeah.
Right? And the problem is it's not even a problem, but in Britain we have our own issues, because when it comes to interracial stuff, integration as well, it's easier here, but it's not as well, because it's like we're cool here until we get above our station. And I'm 30 plus, I'm 35 plus. My birthday's in January, so I'm about to be 36. You know me, I keep it real. KB Jones, kept chatting up proper, yeah, cheap plug, I know. But we have this problem here where it's a bit different from America, where we're not American, but we're still black, but we're English, and it's weird here. It's a bit different here. It's a bit, because even the phrase of black, right? This is part of the problem, because if anyone understands the term black in the political sense, it doesn't actually apply to English, Caribbean, and or African, and or mixed race, whatever black continent origin you are, people. It don't actually apply to us. There's actually an American term, because if you speak to someone who's very firm ADOS, FBA, if anyone knows what the term stands for, we technically class as not as black. So we've got our own struggles here.
Just to push back on that, KB, that's because that's more of an American thing, because Americans see themselves as the world. So that's more of a thing where Americans think that they are the world, and everything else outside of that is a vacation home. So I hear what you're saying, but Americans think that when they create something, it's them and them only. So I hear what you're saying with the black, but I don't know. I think they use it like that, but that's because the Americans, that's how they seem to play. But I hear what you're saying. That's how they class it, but that's not really true. Black is a color. I mean, there's no way near you're not black. You may, like, they're black Americans, you're black Brits, black African, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be a white African. That's how I see it. But I know what you're saying. Politically, they see it differently. But yeah, that's a whole other thing in itself.
No, I hear you, bro. I hear you, because obviously America, because of like their media and their sort of outward influence, it kind of hangs on other black people and other ethnic groups around the world, which is fair but not fair, because we have our own problems here.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I want to do is have a stream about, we should just stop referring to them and just think about our own issues. But I hear what you're saying. I hear. Just if we can just, like this Black Pound Day, focus on our issues, because we have a massive issue here with our businesses, massive issue here, and obviously the topic that we're talking about now, this is our issue. So I'm always a big proponent of, look, forget about anyone else. Let's worry about our issues. So that's one of the things I'm big on.
Do you know what? Real balls, because do you know what? I like the fact that you said that, and you're correct, because we have our own things here, and even between this country, I mean, I know it's a small island, but at the same time, it isn't, because we brought up things like the crown jewels and etc., and the Commonwealth and the Windrush, etc. It's really difficult here, because we don't have so much of a black thing, but we have an ethnic thing, and What can we do? Because it's a really difficult thing, because I'm really proud of being British, and I'm sure a lot of us are, but we've got this. Do you know what? This
So
might sound like a bit coonish, but I don't like saying black so much.
All right, that's fine. That's no
Anymore.
worries. So KB then, if you being a proud Brit, you smashed in whatever career field you did, you get a nomination, you're now awarded, let's say, an MBE or an OBE. Would you accept it?
Mm-hmm. I gotta be honest. I like to think I would have. I wouldn't have.
Okay.
In the same vein that I was an aspiring footballer. Obviously, I didn't make it to, a professional level, but I always like to think that even on that level, that if I got to however high I wanted to, that if I got asked to represent England, I would say no. I always thought that from when I was like 10, 11 years old. If I had the choice, I'd rather represent Ghana, even though I'm British as it can be. If I had the choice, would have said, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. I'd rather go and play for Ghana. Right midfield, right wing Ghana.
You raise a good point here, and it's all how a lot of Brits do this. I've realized is when it comes to certain things, like some people, football or Olympics, I'm GB, I'm Team GB. But then it's like when they're at home, the TV, oh no, I'm repping Jamaica, I'm repping Barbados, I'm repping the Bahamas, or I'm repping Nigeria, I'm repping Ghana, I'm repping Senegal, I'm repping Kenya. It's always an interesting one here, where there always seem to be a split allegiances and alliances. Because even when I was younger, it was like when England was playing Brazil, a lot of the non-white people, they supported Brazil. They weren't supporting England, But I'm like, but yet you want to claim you got that British passport, yet you want to claim I'm Brit. It's like, right. We do have this thing where we want to accept what we want to accept when it benefits us, hence maybe the awards. But then when it suits us, nah, I ain't that Brit. I ain't like that. You know what I mean? I get it. You have your ancestry from elsewhere, but it can be quite.
Is it perhaps that Brazil is a better team than England?
No, it wasn't because of that.
But if you didn't have the option of representing Ghana, would you have represented Britain, KB?
Do you know what? I like to think, I'm going to be honest, maybe yes, but that's only because, look, I was born, I'll keep it real. Do you know, those that know me, Why It Matters, Jesse, Fiona, Skittles, Vincent, whoever else is here, they know me. I was born late 80s. Look, I was born January 86. So I'm a mid-80s/late 80s baby. So I grew up with people like Linford Christie, Frank Bruno, even in America, Michael Jordan. These were my heroes, my peers. These were the black men I aspired to. So where I was influenced to, especially when it comes to, being famous, athletics, media, etc. These were black men that were fighting against the grain. So to answer your question, I probably would represent Britain, but there's always a slash there. There's always an asterisk. Why It Matters, you might be able to, agree because, you're similar sort of age as me, give it a, take or give away a few years.
No, I agree. And this is where it's tough because we do see ourselves as not quite as fully.
Not 100%, right? It's like nearly, but not fully.
Yeah, we as much as we want to say we are, deep down we know we're not it, and we get reminded when situations like over last year, where you get reminded you're not British, or they'll say you're not English. That's what they'll say. So you'll get reminded real quick sometimes, like, okay. Even though I hear what you're saying, you're like, you probably would have, but you just like, there's situations for whatever, you know what the reason why it is. You just get reminded that you're not one of us as much as you want to be. You're not one of us.
Thank you. It comes to a point where not 8/10, 7/10, you're British, and then just that little 2-3%, it's like, but you're not one of us, are you? Though,
but
near
KB,
enough, you're not.
KB, if we didn't have the option to represent your country in terms of to represent where you associate with as to where you come from, if you didn't have that option, but in order to show your excellence, Britain gave you that option to show the excellence in skill set that you have, and you got to receive, and you will receive what's the word? You receive a knighthood or receive what I can't find it. Some you receive glory in that. You receive glory in that. Would you spite yourself for that when you had no other option?
Do you know what? That's a very good question. When I was younger, because anyone that sort of heard my voice or knows me knows that I was somebody that I was a very budding athlete. Out of all the skills I've attained, studied for, going for, anyone that knows me properly or that's heard me or listened to me knows that my number one goal was to be an athlete. That if that's my dream, I'd like it's kind of past now, but if I could have anything, I would have been an athlete, particularly a footballer. I love soccer. I love football. That's my number one sport. However, I grew up in the age where it was almost, if you made it, it was like, take it and shut up. Do you know what I mean? Take your accolades and shut up. It's really weird in Britain. It was like, it's very much, and why it matters, I don't mean to pull it away, but it's like almost the interracial thing. It's almost like, if a white woman likes you, accept it and shut up. That's the best you're going to get. Do you know what I mean? Like, Britain's a really weird place where it's like, we'll accept you to a point. As long as you toe the line, we will compensate you. But the moment you talk out of what we speak turn, we're going to punish you. Do you know? And unfortunately, for us sort of 70s, 80s, 90s babies, that we're stuck in a place where it involves our parents and our grandparents as well, because our existence depended on us being born and doing well, right? Why it matters? It wasn't just them. It was depending on us doing well to put on the legacy. So that's why it's a bit hard. And when it comes to things like athletics, sports, being famous, we were sort of sold a dream. You got to understand, us 80s babies, I'm an 80s baby and 90s baby, we were sold the dreams. You know, you can be the, especially men, you can be the black man, you know, you can be the exception that makes it. But when we sort of, yeah, exactly. You know, Linford Christie, Frank Bruno, not Mo Salah, Mo Farah, especially Mo Farah. He's from my part of West London. I know people that knew him, you know, and it's really, I've got to be honest, it's really smart on the opposite side's part, because they let one or two people from the lower classes through to give you enough hope to make you think, oh, I can be the next one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know people that know Mo Farah. I know, look, anyone that knows West London, this guy used to practice at Perryville running track.
Yeah, I know that place.
Perryville running
track.
Leisure
Leisure Centre.
Bro, thank you. Thank you. You know Ealing Borough. Now this guy's an international superstar. But this guy was running in Perryville. You know Hamlet FC across the road. Football team. So we've got things there. But again, you can only go to a certain point. Now when you see Mo Farah, or you see him, oh, that's Mo Farah. But really, is he on headlines anymore? No. It's almost like, take your moment of spotlight and just take your money and go away. It reminds me of like a musician like a Jamelia. She's coming out to like 40. She was top of the chops at one point. Mystique. You know, what's that woman's name? The main one, Alicia Dixon. You know, it's almost like take your thing and just go away for a little bit. So it's almost like,
I suppose there's an element for like need for control of the human beings and human life as well. Maybe.
Well, yeah, because in Britain we've got almost a system, without saying, of we'll let you in a bit, but don't get above your station. You know your place, type of thing. You know, and it's a really difficult thing, because it's like, how do you strive for excellence while trying to restrict yourself? Because, right, it's an oxymoron. Because with black people, that's the problem with us. We can't stop at a certain point. When we're excellent, we go beyond.
Let me ask that question. Why it matters? How do you strive for excellence while you're restricting yourself? Why it matters?
Well, this is the thing. I don't see sometimes not accepting an award as restricting yourself. And I give you another example. a box. If you like boxing, Tyson Fury, he refused to accept certain honors because of how he believed himself to be. He knew in himself he was the best boxer, and he knew in himself he was the sports personality of the year, even if he wasn't nominated or he didn't want to be. So to answer your question, I think you can do both. Well, sorry, I don't see yourself as restricting yourself. A lot of times it's your principles. So I suppose maybe your principles may seem like it restricts you, but actually it's freeing you at the same time. So
yeah, I think so. I think it's a different piece. I think what KB is saying is you're restricting yourself in terms of how much you can express what you believe in or express your principles in terms. But what you're saying is if you stand by your principles, then you are necessarily, although you've freed yourself from that restriction. But KB is saying sometimes you hold back your principles and you are in a space where you compromise your principles and in order to seem excellent in a way which you don't end up achieving results.
I suppose it ties a line. It sort of ties in, and I'll explain how. Other groups have had this situation where they've felt they can't be themselves. So you know what they've done? They've removed themselves from the environment and created their own environment and flourished. So sometimes knowing certain situations, that actually makes your purpose and your success a lot more straightforward. I think we struggle because we want acceptance in a little bit. So I don't know if that answers your question. I'm just gonna rotate the panel. So I'm gonna drop off myself. I'm just want to ask a question. If I drop off, it's not gonna end the stream, is it? If I just remove myself, KB, you can answer this question. I think.
Do you know what, bro? It might. So what I'll do, I'll drop off, but I'll be in the chat just to allow someone else in.
Okay,
so yeah, because you're the host, it might drop off. So stay on White Matters, please.
Okay, cool. So
I'll just drop off. I'll let someone else through.
Cool. I'll let JH up, and then yeah, Anthony, yeah, give it a couple of seconds. Hopefully we'll rotate the panel. But yeah, sorry, Ozzy, we want to say something, or was it Jesse? I don't know who.
It was me. It was me.
Yeah.
But Ozzy, yeah.
Oh, can I go first?
Yeah, go ahead. You're not really spoken. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, in regards to the Black Pound Day and all that, I find it to be quite interesting, the term Black Pound Day, because at one point, I'm thinking to myself, well, why do you have to emphasize, black and all that? It's counterintuitive to a free market, or a capitalist society and all that, and it persuades people not to purchase items, from a premises that has, Black Pound Day sign and all that, it's a sort of like a, an ostentatious way and all that, spend money with us and stuff like that, Why can't it be like subtle and like meeting the needs of the local population, all that, having certain food catering to certain cultures, or certain products catering to certain demographic in a certain specific area and all that. The idea of creating a business is that you have to conduct a market research, and that market research has to take consideration the local population, the needs of the local population when it comes to the supply and demand aspect.
Let me ask you something, Ozzy, on that, because I hear what you're saying, but I find it, I don't know what it is, but we do this the most. Do you know when there's been a market called Buy British again?
Yeah.
Does anyone have a problem with that?
It's absolutely, it's good. I recommend people to actually buy, homegrown products.
Okay, so with that being said, why can't we then translate it to ourselves and say, because Black Pound Day really was aimed at us. It's basically saying buy British again. That's what it's saying.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing about it is, British is British by definition is a national, it's a citizenship of a nation. But when you're saying, Black Pound Day and all that, you're talking about racial identity. These are two things. One thing is, it crosses racial lines and all that, which is nationality. And you got the race aspect of it, which is not, inclusive and all that. Sorry. Sorry about that.
I hear you, but
Yeah.
let me just say this. I'm playing devil's advocate, but there is what I'm saying is I do believe this. Do you know in people's minds when they hear that? Do you think, oh, let me go to the local black shop and go to their food stores? Oh, let me go to the local Asian shop. Let me go to their food stores because they're British.
Mhm.
Do you really think people think that?
Sorry, could you repeat again, please?
I said, do you
Yeah.
think when people hear the notion buy British again,
Yeah.
they mean go to the local Asian shop, halal meat store, or
Yeah.
go to, because for example, there's a store where I'm from, it's called Pack Foods. And funny enough, a lot of people, as you can imagine, with the word pack foods in it, people took it as a bit of a, I'm pretty sure you know what the next word is going to be.
Yeah.
But do you see that? Would you think, oh, let me go to that shop, or do you think I'm going to go to, I don't know, a Tesco or a Sainsbury's and a Morrison's or something like that? Even I says Morrison's was American owned, but now British owned. But you see what I mean? Do you think people see it in the same way?
I mean, normally, usually, you would think that individuals might actually purchase items from, any given business or retail, supermarket retail, depending on what product they need and all that. You have to take consideration of price, the quality of the product, the uniqueness, of the product they're requesting for as well, and also the service as well. You could go to, Tesco's, which has a cheaper, product, but the thing is that Tesco retailer might have, a crappy customer service. So you'd rather, purchase an item in a newsagents, which has a very good, a good, customer service and all that.
I'm glad for you. I'm glad for your optimism, but in reality, here's what I've experienced in my
Yeah.
lifetime. Asian corner shops have been bullied out of their stores because of negativity regarding ethnic racial group. Don't buy from that. You know what the word is going to be. So I hear what you're saying in principle, and for the most part, I agree. Quality, product, pricing, huge part of it. But there is a massive thing where people do trust buying. Well, I say people, we don't, but people do trust buying from themselves, which is why I see a lot of Asians go to their own store, not because they just cater to their own people. Because, for example, in Asda, there's like a world food store, but people aren't really necessarily going to go to Asda to get some of their seasoning, for example, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I hear you, but I think for me, the idea is just to, it's not to exclude, but we need to start what we should have started a long time ago, which is just take care of your own first. That's all. But I'm conscious I've got people on chat who's not said anything, so I apologize. Dev, you've been on the chat for a long time, so apologies. Let me go to you. Welcome again to the panel. What your thoughts so far? Take it away. Any topic, I don't mind.
Hey, thanks, man. Everybody doing at the moment?
Doing well.
Okay, great. I first and foremost want to tag it for Queen and Country. Because
like
that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, because our Olympic gold medal, silver medal athlete just got an award for the Queen. I think it's some commander order something British. That's Kirani James.
Okay, yeah.
Just get it, and to me it's like, and he writes so much rubbish. Our people should be grateful and thank. And I was like, yo, why do we need validation from these people? Why we gotta go to these people to validate how good we are? I don't get it. And it gets me really angry to the sense that the same people that brutalize us and have us where we are, when they feel like it, they pull out one of us from the bottom, give us an award to make us feel good. Hey, we are doing well. Why do we keep falling for the same bullshit? I don't understand that. I don't.
I understand.
Well, better, good for you. I don't understand it because I'm saying these people work with a system. And once you become part of their system, you are bound by their laws. Typical example, look at Margaret, Harry's wife, and to them. Why do you think they left? Because of the restrictions. So taking these honors that they're giving you, Now you are part of them, represent them in somewhat. And you have to abide by the rules that they give to you. So look at Hamilton. There are certain things he cannot say now. Even Karani, there are certain things, there are boundaries set around them. Because you remember before he got an award, he was very vocal and a lot of stuff. Let's look to see if he still possesses the same energy.
I think it's a bit too new or recent to be judging at the moment. I suppose we can give it enough time.
That's why I said wait and see if he is going to possess the same energy.
Is there
that he
any
used to.
examples? Is there any examples of people like that we can look from and that you can give us of people who have silenced their opinions due to receiving such accolades?
There is a Bahari, is a Grenadian, and he fought with the English, I think is in Iraq or something, and he got one of the highest award. Yeah, and I think there's a movie out on his life based on what he did. But he's now restricted of certain things that he cannot say. Before he had that award, a lot of Grenadians used to follow him on Facebook, and he was very vocal about a lot of things. A lot of things that will rub that empire the wrong way. Now he don't even touch it anymore. He gone up into a whole different ball game. So the point I'm making is that why do we have to wait until these people acknowledge us, validate us, give us an award to rub our egos, and then put us back, quote unquote, where we belong in their eyes? To me, it's just a show.
Cass, I have a response to that.
Go for it, bro.
This is one of the issues that I see with I say with the black community is like you said about validation, right? Low key, we have like this. This is what I gather from a lot of people who are from like Caribbean or African. Well, I'll say more Caribbean in my opinion, but I'm Caribbean myself, right? Is it's this weird relationship, right, with the majority here, right, where it's a love and hate relationship, right, where, in my opinion, I don't really need anyone's validation, skin color or not, right? It's just who out of everybody else who could treat me right, I'll treat them right, and that's just how things are, right? Thing is like black people need to just start loving themselves, right? Because when I look at the social economic ladder, and we're at the bottom, if you look at some of the factors that plays a part, some of it in a way indirectly translate into a lack of self-love, right? And in my opinion, it's just like we need to acknowledge that we're different, and that we also have to understand that we're also in a society, right, where we're born into a society. We're born into a society that is relatively new, right? Because the migration of the Windrush was within a lifetime, right? So you got to take into consideration that we're gonna have identity issues, right? We haven't.
Can I interject?
Huh?
Can I interject? Because this is the reason. Is the reason why I dropped into the panel to address this issue that was raised before as well.
Yeah.
Why do we look onto these accolades that maybe perhaps do not come from us as well? But I wanted to raise that. And maybe some people might consider that making excuses as well, but it's not necessarily making excuses. I'm giving potential reasons as to why they could be. So, for instance, like let's say why others outdo us. Let's take, for instance, is it we are not really the biggest minority in the country. We are the smallest minority. And also, I would like to second what KB said, that there could be some sort of preferential treatment happening in the country. So that's another reason, small minority preferential treatment. And also another reason within us ourselves. Is it to do with the case that representation of power, wealth, and prestige has never been something that we owned for centuries and millennia as well? As in, when people speak of poverty and speak of disunity and all the horrible things they can do from a geopolitical point, they speak of Africa, how Africa looks, and also how we look as well. And then in turns, like I use it as if philosophically, poor people tend to not want to collaborate and work with each other a lot more than rich people do, because poor people, when they see each other, they say, why should I choose to work or invest with you because you have not succeeded in your endeavor? You know, I'm much more likely to succeed if I invested with that other person who has succeeded. So rich people tend to work with each other easier, and poor people tend to denigrate each other and not necessarily work with each other. And obviously, we can name many reasons why we have ended up at the bottom, but it kind of creates that mentality in which it kind of becomes a crabs in a barrel and all that stuff, where we're pulling each other down, trying to get up at the same time. And you know, so I think it's not. And also somebody said, if we lack business acumen, is it because we lack business acumen, or is it because we lack the financial capacity to begin proper business, and the financial and the information or the technical ability and knowledge to actually begin these businesses? The technical knowledge of, you understand, is that the case? Why? Because I tend to find when somebody doesn't have any idea or any idea in the mind or doesn't know anything, they will spend their money being consumers. But when they know how to produce because they've learned some technical ability, they will perhaps decide, I'm not going to use this money to consume, I might use this money to produce. So it kind of creates that situation. So I'm just pointing out, could these be possibly certain reasons why we are behind?
I could give you the answer to that. In my opinion, again, it goes into what I was saying about Black Pound Day, right? It's the financial and the business literacy, right? Because again, you know, people be talking talking about, you know, white society and the majority and so on and so forth. But did you know that there's minorities that are making more money here than the actual indigenous people of this land? So that's something you got to think about. At one point, there was a time where I think it was Nigerians or Ghanaians were some of the wealthiest people actually on this country. You can look it up.
When you say business literacy, what do you mean exactly as business literacy? Like, I mean, to do business, you must know something that is like, you know how to make and produce something and expand it, sell it, and all that stuff. I think some of those skills are innate to human beings. I don't think we lack certain business. I think we lack knowledge. We lack knowledge.
Right. Now, I would say we do lack knowledge. But you say, like, what is it that, you know, what is it that we don't have, right? First off, wealth building, right? Marketing, business, customer service. These are the various things. Understanding economics, right? Group economics, right? These are the type of things that, in my opinion, that people are lacking. And the way I could see this is even within Black Pound Day itself, is it's not talking about scale. Scale, the law of scale is one of the biggest things to build wealth.
You know,
right?
You know why?
Wait. Let me finish. Right? I'll let you talk. Right? There's one dude that I know. Right? Well, I don't know him personally. Right? there's been poor people that I have known personally, right? Who, for example, there was a guy called Muhammad, right? He came from another country, right? Could hardly speak English. I remember college, right? I used to help him speak English, right? And then there was a couple of years later, like into the future, right? Where he came down, like I went to a gym, right? And he went to the same gym I had. And he offered me a ride home because I helped him how to speak English, right? How is it that a dude that could hardly speak English, right, come to this country, make money, right, and actually be better off than me, considering I have probably better English speaking skills than I did at the time, right? I don't know what it is like now, right?
Because
And then
wait.
make money, make a business. I think he's making at least 100,000 now, right? It's because of group economics. He has a community, he has an infrastructure where he could say, hey, you know what? This dude is gonna invest in me. I'm gonna build a business, and I think it's like some private doctor business, something like that, right? He has, right? There's minorities coming over here, making money, making bank. I even know a Sri Lankan dude came over here, right? He fought in a war for Sri Lanka, right? He's an old dude. He now making money. He's only like 50 something. He already retired. He already got his own place in Sri Lanka, and he's moving back to retire in Sri Lanka. I know him personally.
I'm going to piggyback off what you're saying. I agree with that. I agree with that in the sense that I was going to say one of the reasons why businesses that are ours struggle to expand or scale up or even improve is because they lack certain investment. They lack sufficient investment to do that. So they just get by with what they have. So have we really... There's many layers into this. Have we really invested into, I think? And for your friend, he had that community to help invest and back him up. And also he made himself privy to an idea. He made himself privy to an idea in the sense that when he came up with an idea, the community gave him money. And then he succeeded. I think I heard in another discussion a long time ago that it used to be that way for the Caribbean community when they used to come together, add money together and put money together. But it's just ever since then, we have not been kind of a monolith in a way because there's Africans, Caribbeans, and different types of African groups all over the country. And we're doing we are very inclined to individualism, even though where we come from, we are collective, but we're very, very much inclined to individualism. And then there's a reason for that. But I think in the UK, our community and our businesses don't have enough sufficient funds. The Indians and all that stuff. I don't think, even though KD said maybe they had preferential treatment, I think they seem to be more homogeneous, and I think they work together. I mean, these people, if you have one person, one Indian comes to the UK, right? He comes. He invites me, and then he sets another ticket for his other brother to come, and then his other brother comes, and then another brother comes, and they live in nine of them in one place, right? And they all work together. They help each other get ahead. You understand what I mean? So, but for Black people, we have this competitive need to actually just, you know what? I want to be better than that person. So we have this dysfunction. Yes, I recognize that to a certain extent.
Right.
You see the school system never taught us about generational wealth.
Yes.
It just taught us to go to school to get an education, to find a job, not to create a job, to create generational wealth. And once you create generational wealth, it means that your offspring coming will have to learn business and financial management.
Right.
Because there's to take over the business. Our people don't think like that.
Exactly. And this is my whole
you have to notice they also practice on a huge scale nepotism, which something we don't do because we are very inclusive rather than exclusive. Do you understand what I'm trying to say as well? I think it's to do in the UK particularly is that we don't invest sufficiently into our own business. And why we don't invest? Because most of us have not been associated with what it means to have prestige, wealth, and success. So we don't trust each other in business in a way.
All right, let me say something. Right, this is again is proving my point. Where I'd be safe for time. It's to do with self-love and and the self-love. Like black people need to learn to trust each other and love themselves.
But this is where I differ.
Wait. You've got black women out here, right? Like in weaves and trying to look like something they ain't, right? And then you got some black men trying to act like something they ain't, right? They're like some people say they ain't really being themselves, whatever that means, right? Or not being black, whatever that means, which I think is a ridiculous term. You're an individual, you're black, period. That's how I see it, right?
Let me explain where I differ. I agree with you. The thing is, love comes with also in a form. It's not that kind of struggle love. That's also success. You understand what I mean? When people see enough collaboration that has succeeded, and you know how people kiss up to somebody that's rich. As soon as somebody has made it and is rich, everybody tends to kiss up and act like they love him. It could be genuine. It could not be. It could not be genuine. But either way, they believe in that person that has succeeded. You understand what I mean? So that representation of black people succeeding on a major scale, because we've seen ourselves downtrodden, and it's been the reason why we don't. It's not necessarily to do with love. It's to do with working together to achieve a benefit, becoming successful. We need to be more successful in a way, and that's what it is. Because I looked at it and I said, you know what? Many times this is all the way down to a political level in Africa, where you have puppets, people betraying each other, stabbing each other in the back, somebody not believing in the plan and just taking the money away. Somebody has a vision, but the other person doesn't see far enough, and then he just betrays. Because why? That other person cannot see the vision. You understand what I mean? Right. And then he betrays the other person. So this situation and dysfunction causes this thing where we don't believe in it. It's not to do with well, people will start to love you. It's like that kid in Africa that nobody ever believed in, right? Nowadays, he's crossed the Mediterranean, he's made it to Europe, and he's become successful, and now everybody back home loves him because
hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I don't know. He's blurred out. But yeah, like again, like everything that matter is basically most of the things that matter is saying, right? I think is an issue to do with self-love. You talk about stabbing someone in the back, right? Success, right? Various things of this nature, right? When you wanna become the greatest or the best version of yourself, you gotta love yourself, right? Would you agree? Yes or no?
Yeah, 100% agree.
Right.
100% agree.
Now, my whole point is, how is it that you have all these minorities, right, come into England? Some of them ain't even living here as long as we have, making a whole bunch of money, making businesses.
So
right, it's because they have a community that loves themselves. Think about it, why are you gonna give to someone you hate? Think about it.
Well, we do it all the time. You could argue,
right?
But here's the thing, Jesse, and I agree with you. And this is why, again, the Black Pound Day essentially is everything you're saying. Group economics. That's essentially what it's trying to say. Group economics. How do minorities who come over from other nations, because they embed themselves in certain communities. For example, if you're from India, they go and they embed themselves with their economics. They have a system where they've got other people like them. We're like, yes, we can take you in. Some of them don't even need to speak their language because they take them in, and then they can sort them out. And then guess what? Like you said, after I don't know how long it was, 2 years after he's last seen Mohammed, I don't know. He's driving you in his nice car, owning over.
Yeah,
because
he's on Audi R8.
I bet he went to his own community and was like, okay, you taught him English, fantastic. But he went to his own community and probably got the hookup, got the link up,
right?
And then boom.
Right. This
Whereas our link up, our hookup are likely to be with those or anyone not our group majority of times, unless you are well
Why
connected.
it matters? Why it
Yeah,
matters? You remember when I first came to this and I expressed this sadness that there is so many restaurants and so many places our people to, but they are not our own. So when you walk in there, you feel like an outsider and you feel like you don't belong, and it feels like it's the wrong place. Yeah, but we have businesses that cater to us as well. And you see many of these communities, as I say, there's Turkish, there's the Kurdish places, Chinese places, and all that stuff, and they cater to their own people, and then they expand to everybody else, right?
yes,
But
yes,
for us, why is it that all these Caribbean shops, all these African businesses, who is really funding them and investing in them as well? Why don't we see that as a business opportunity? Why don't we believe in the ideas of our own people in the UK?
That's the £1 million question. I don't know if you've ever been to Turtle Bay before, but Turtle Bay, that's a Caribbean chain, the biggest chain. We don't own that. No Caribbean owns that. That's owned by I can't pronounce his name, but it's from Sri Lanka. So many places, and it's like, yeah, I agree. Why don't we do it? We probably don't see our value in ourselves until it gets bigger. Jamie Oliver tried to do, was it jerk rice and peas, and that got, because everyone went crazy over that. But my thought was, actually, that's a good idea for someone to try and do. You know what I mean? It's all these things which I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. JH, I want to get, okay, fair enough then. I wanted to get that person's opinion because you've just been waiting nice and patiently, but yeah, fair enough then. Fair enough.
Maybe he clicked the wrong thing or something. I don't know. Wait.
Yeah, probably.
Why it matters? Can I jump in, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, guys, I'm back again. Yeah, I'm a bit more sober now. Anyway, you just brought up Turtle Bay. That's a very good example why it matters, because even with the principle of Turtle Bay, you know, there's a few branches all around the country and stuff.
Yep.
It's weird because we will trust each other when it comes to, you know, word of mouth, promotion, etc. Hence when Turtle Bay got popular around sort of the Black community, the Caribbean community, the African community. But if we'd have known, or if we'd have come across that it was owned by one of our own, I almost feel like there'll be a resistance with it. And it's really weird with us in the UK. It's almost like someone has to co-sign something and then we'll all back it, even if it's our own community. And this is what part of our problem is. Because even with Turtle Bay, why it matters, I love that you brought it up, because you brought up before that there's Turtle Bays in a few parts of the country. And in terms of like an establishment, a franchise representing, you know, quote unquote, our music. Hey, stop touching my bum. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, I'm talking to my wife. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
No, sorry.
No, so
Some like, bro, we'd have to have a different conversation if that was easy. Anyway, yeah. The fact that there's franchises all around the country, it shows that it's really weird with us in the UK, because it shows that we have influence, but at the same time, it's to take us to another level. It's like we're not expected to do so, and within ourselves, very much answer like questions that have been brought after. The UK is a very weird place because, in one sense, we know where we all come from, be it African countries, Caribbean countries, wherever. But at the same time, it's like we submit because we're in a European country, which is a really weird oxymoron to grow up with. And it's to be honest with you, I know a lot of people outside the UK think we got it easy, but we've got a real, excuse my language, why it matters, but a real head fuck here, because we're stuck between being English and British and where we come from as well. And we're stuck between two different identities, because being British in itself does encompass being all different colors, because we've made up what is modern day Britain. But at the same time, we're trying to hold on to our Caribbean, Latino, African, whatever heritages. And it's a hard thing to do. I know a lot of people outside of Britain, even the Americans, Canadians, Caribbeans of us, even Africans of us think you know, the roads are paved with gold and etc. But it really is not. And it's really hard here because we're British and English as well. But to some people, which I don't blame them for, being British and English is associated with being Caucasian. So there's a race element in there, even though there's not. And it's like we're accepted, but only to a point. It's really difficult. So you've got somewhere like a Turtle Bay where we'll congratulate and be happy that they eat our food, we have an establishment, but at the same time, we know and don't know that it's only successful because not a black person owned it, but an ethnic person owned it, i.e., like you might have actually said, an Asian person, which in Britain is different to America, the Caribbean, and even the continent. Whereas in Britain, anything non-Caucasian is BAME. But anywhere outside of Britain, BAME is not enough. Why it matters? You get where I'm coming from? Especially like you're British as well.
Yeah.
We're really stuck here because even being British and black, whatever your origin is its own identity in itself. Jesse, you're still on the panel. You know what I mean? You're from the borough. You're from Ealing Borough. Ealing Borough is really weird because it's a very ethnic place. It's a very, I'm not going to say non-white place, but white people, which sounds strange in a London borough, and Ealing is not the biggest, but a significant borough, definitely one of the richest, but there's minimum white people here. Everyone here is black, African, Caribbean, Arabic, Asian, right, Jesse? Mixed race. Everyone here is non-white.
You mean
but
London?
it's still white, right?
It's like Pittshanger Lane area is mostly white.
Right. There you go. And Pittshanger Lane is a significant little, let's call it, Jesse, let's call it a road. Let's call it a long road. But when you get to even Broadway, you'll see a black woman with a white man, you'll see an Asian woman with a black guy, and it's mad. Like,
KB, to what extent do you believe that I understand Englishness is definitely very exclusive, because that's talking about an ethnic group. The English is it, but to what extent do you believe Britishness is very inclusive towards everybody that can perhaps attain it? I don't know.
Do you know what? That's a very good question, because it's very hard because of age group as well. Because you've got to understand where someone like me and Jesse grew up, particularly like our part of England and London, we've grown up in a very inclusive place, meaning even going back to things like primary school, am I fair, Jesse? Even as far as primary school, we grew up with all different colors. We grew up with everybody's the same, quote unquote. Do you know what I mean? We grew up with that kind of lie, which is a lie, but it's not. And this is where I think people get mixed up, because we've grown up with people that are non-black, but they've been brought up with us. So they see us as not unfamiliar, but the family's telling us we're different. Do you get what I mean? So they've grown up with a conflict that they've been told of other, but they've grown up with other. And then on the same time, us as black, mixed, ethnic people, we've been told Caucasian people hate us, but at the same time, our friends are Caucasian. So it's like, no, but my best friend, Harry, likes black people. Jesse, you feel me, right?
Right. And this is I agree. Like, I'm from Wadsworth, right? Predominantly white area, right? Well, the area that I'm in, right? Because there's even different parts. But the thing is like, this is my issue is, I would just say that most ethnic minorities are gonna have identity issues, right? Even I had identity issues when I was young, right? When I was very, very young, crazy or not, I used to think that I was white, right?
No, seriously, I feel you.
Right. Because even when I was really, really young, right, kids in school would actually call me a coconut, right? And the reason why is because they noticed that I wasn't a stereotypical or a negative stereotype of what a black person would be, right?
You was enough that they can tolerate that you're not like the others.
Right.
To be fair, Jesse, right?
Right. And what it is some of them just could not understand and couldn't believe that a black person could be like this, right? Even if you look at how television is now, right? Only really, if you really look until the 2010s right up to the 2020s, right? We're only really seeing diversity of different ethnic minorities, or I say even black people, right, being a different thing, right? Because on television, what we would normally see is we either see the rapper, we see the athlete, or we see the entertainer, right? Now we're seeing we're seeing a poet now. If you saw the New Year's Eve celebrations, it was a poet, right? Now you're seeing black people.
Bro, just to even add on, there was a Right Move advert just going over Christmas, and it's a white woman with curly hair, a black man with a bald head, and they've got a mixed race daughter. They live somewhere like Norwich, obscure village in England.
So we're gonna have identity issues, right? Because you're being shamed, even by black people or non-black people. You're being shamed for being different, right? This is what we be going through for young. If you're speaking good English, you're Uncle Tom, or you're this, right? If you have different point of views, right, that isn't the typical victim narrative, you ain't black. Or
let's not go to that. That's very reductive to the conversation.
I'm talking about in the UK. I'm not talking about as a whole. I'm talking about in the UK. This is true, right? I've experienced it, right? And there's other people who experienced it.
He's right. Right.
If you point out problems in the black community, right, and then you offer solutions, because I've experienced this. I've done cultural lectures, right, at the University of London in Russell Square, right, right. Doing lectures to educational psychologists. There was an Asian doctor. It was me, another, and we were talking about culture, right? These are facts. You can reference that at the UCL, right? After I did that, right, and after I started changing my mindset and I got away from the victim narrative, right, that I'm an oppressed black person in this country, black people changed up on me. Doors started closing. I started calling names.
Can I ask you a question? How do we build confidence?
You went above your station. You went above your station, as far as I'm concerned. You spoke out of turn.
It's both.
How do we build confidence in investing in black businesses or black ideas in the UK to actually be able to have something that is of ours as well in the UK and have a place? Because every community have an economic base and they have the places that's there. That's how the UK is. It's multicultural and they accept it as well. So how do we make sure our cultures and our societies, we can build confidence in them?
Right. I've already dropped the solution. I've been saying this for time. It's the community as a whole needs to change its image and needs to start loving itself. This is my whole point. Like, if you look at the statistics literally.
How do people love each other? How does love develop? That's the thing. You put out a word, like love. How do people love?
Sorry, let me just come in here. Sorry, guys. I just want to get JH in on the conversation.
Let JH speak.
Because I hate this conversation getting a little bit cyclical. But yeah, let me just get JH back on here. Welcome to the stream.
Thank you for. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. As you can probably tell, I'm not a British or African. I'm a black, but I'm a black American. So listen to the conversation. I thought it was a great conversation. There's definitely some parallels. Going back to the original topic, I know you guys probably beat that, to death, but I wanted to go back to it. I don't know if anyone. I don't know if anyone brought up this point, but particularly us as black people, no matter where you are, UK, America, since the waters have been muddied, in terms of our identity. Someone brought that up, because it's kind of hard to, how can I put this, buck up against the system that also pays your rent, right? Because most of us, we work for or work with an institution that's primarily, white or European, right? So how can you then say, oh, you know what, F this, show any type of hostility towards someone who's also paying for your rent? So I think that definitely plays into it. I give props to that, and pardon me if I get his name wrong. What's his name? Benjamin, the poet that rejected the
Benjamin Zephaniah. Yep.
Zephaniah, yeah. And I give him props for doing it, but because I understand the cognitive dissonance that must go into that, right? Because like he said, I speak against empire, but I'm going to take a war from an emperor or from a king that's put me in the position that I'm in, right? Because we can imagine if all of Europe didn't go into Africa, and do what they did, what would we look like? I don't think we would just be sitting on our thumbs, waiting for Europeans to come and save us. We would have eventually traded and figured some stuff out, and we would have traded, worked with them, and then we could have gotten this stuff on our own. And going back to I can't remember who mentioned, I think it was Jesse talking about self-love. I think the self-love would come into it a lot better, right? Because it's easier to love yourself when you got a couple of wins under your belt. You know what I'm saying? Like if you over here in America, when you talk about American football, right? It's much easier to be a Tampa Bay fan than it is to be a Detroit Lions fan, right? When you have wins under your belt, it's easy to love yourself.
Facts.
Yeah. So that was one of the points I just wanted to bring up. I think that the fact that we're so economically tied to the UK as a whole, America, white America, white UK, Europe in general, that it makes it difficult for us to kind of stand up on our own and voice our, voice in a very, how can I put it, to voice our dissatisfaction, you know what I'm saying? But if we were doing our own thing, like if there was a Wakanda that we can all go to, we wouldn't be having we wouldn't even be having this conversation, right? If we had an option of a country that was, first world, that catered to us, we were the majority, we wouldn't be having we wouldn't be having this issue, So that's my opinion.
Why must? Can I interject for a bit as well? And I agree with what this guy said, because I think he recognized what the conclusion of the discussion as well. And I think what's his name, Jesse, as well, also understands this. But Jesse, I just wanna bring this point of view as well. Jesse, when an individual is not winning in life and is losing constantly in life, it's very hard for that individual to love himself. Expand that to an entire nation or an entire group or society. It's very hard. When they don't love themselves, they don't love each other, they don't trust each other. So is it a case of loving, or is it a case where we must actually build skill sets that we require to make us very competitive in this country and start investing in our own ideas, improve ourselves as individuals, and then work together as a collective? As of course, when you start winning, you understand, I would work with another Black person that's doing very great elsewhere. When I see that person has succeeded in his project, I would say, you know what, it will be of advantage to me to decide to talk to that guy to come with me so that we can work together in a project, perhaps maybe in a different playing field or perhaps in the same playing field. Either way, I trust him because he has succeeded in his endeavors as well. But because we don't have this representation, it makes it hard to say. We tend to disregard each other most of the time. So it makes it hard to have that all.
Okay.
Hey, Madeira, is that how you pronounce your name? Am I saying that correct?
Yes, somewhat.
Okay, how you say it? How do you say your name?
Madara.
Okay. Yeah, I think, just jumping in real quick. I think, you need a little bit of both, right? Because if in the process of getting those skills, right? Let's say, today there's someone in the chat listening to this conversation and says, you know what? I don't know computer skills. I'm just going to go, hop in that skill, hop into that class, right? I bet that's going to take time. And in the meantime, we need to learn to love each other. Because what happens when one of us, finally gets in a position where, okay, I can start making some moves, but I'm in a community that does not practice, that does not practice self-love or doesn't have a good sense of self, right? Then they're going to be a single person in the wind trying to make it work, where you have a community of people that, like you said, is distrustful. So I think that it's going to have to be a multifaceted, plan for, here in America. Like I'm not, casting aspersions on y'all, because we got the same problems over here too. But I think it's going to have to be a combination of both. We're going to have to, as individuals, work hard, and as a collective, we have to, support those who do. But in the meantime, we're definitely going to have to start loving and supporting each other along the way.
Right, JH, there's a question. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, there's a question which is a good one from Fiona about this. Want to get your opinion on this. So I don't know if you can. I'm sure you can see the screen, right? I don't know what device you're on, but what's your response to the question posed by Fiona?
Let me read it real quick. Hold on.
No worries.
Oh yeah, Fiona. Yeah, I definitely made the same arguments too. Like I definitely feel the same thing. A couple of years ago, I think we talking about the Oscars. They had that thing with the Oscars so white thing. Yeah, I was very annoyed by that. I was like, I really don't give a shit. If you make a good movie and people like it, fine. But if you don't get, particularly when it comes to the Oscars, that's like some buddy. They got their own shit going on. I'm definitely with you on that one. Like, yeah, if we should have the, I would say clean up the BET Awards, because every time, well, first of all, the BET is not owned by Black people anymore. It used to be owned by Black people back in the day, but now
they sold it out, didn't they? Yeah, that's right.
They sold it. Yeah, so the BET has always been a joke. The BET Awards has always been a joke. If they cleaned it up and made it so that they took it seriously, then yeah, I think that's definitely what we should do. I think someone mentioned it earlier. We do definitely need to have our own awards, and we showcase our own people. We just make it, we take it seriously.
Can I jump in with the BET Awards, because it reminds me of we got an English equivalent called the MOBO Awards, Music of Black Origin. It's very much the same. It's been very disorganized. I would say this year just gone. I don't know if anyone saw the MOBOs, White Matters, or anyone else that's British here saw the MOBOs this year. It was a bit more organized this year. It was a bit more clean, but very similar to the BET. I mean, look, I'm an 80s baby. I grew up on MTV Raps, BET. So, we're very American-centric here in the UK. So I feel you. But even what seems like tiny things like organization, we're still lacking. Because even the BET Awards today, this year, who's presenting it? The girl from Little Mix, what's her name? The mixed race chick.
Jade, what's her name?
You know what I'm talking about. She was, and she was a bit more professional than the other two Black men. They were still a bit more loose. And it's like secondhand embarrassment, especially the comedian that was in the crowd. Even my wife was like, why is he flirting with every woman? Do you know what I mean? Like, why does everything have to be funny to us? Do you know what I mean? Even amongst that moment, we couldn't be serious for 5 minutes. We always had to joke. And this is part of our problem. Even if it's for those 5 minutes, this is what other nations get. It just takes 5 minutes of airtime to go viral to be serious. These lot laugh off air all the time. If you see their bloopers and outtakes, they're laughing all the time. But the 5 minutes that you see go viral are the most serious. The problem with us is we don't have 5 minutes enough of film to go viral.
Yeah.
If you guys feel me.
No, I agree with you on that one. We have other.
We're the same thing here.
Now I'm saying we have other awards here too. We do, the BET is one, but we do like the Essence, and there's a NAACP award that comes out as well. That one's a little bit more serious. But again, when they get their MCs, who they always get some comedian or whatever that cracks jokes. And even Malcolm X said something about, putting these comedians up as the front people for your race, So
they're like court jesters. Let's be honest, they're jesters. Back in the day, they would have been the court jester.
Yep, absolutely. No, I definitely agree. I wish we would take our awards just a little bit more seriously, so that we can have some prestige, and so if the Oscars don't accept you, you can be like, okay, yeah, whatever, keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's the biggest one. Now, obviously, when it comes to the Oscars, right? Like if you get that Oscar nomination, that Oscar award, then you can, I forgot what the numbers was, but you can pretty much like damn near, double your pay once you have that Oscar, when you put that Oscar nominated or Oscar recipient, as an actor or director, you're like, your pay can go through the roof. But at the same time, it's just like, you got to realize what that industry is. You know what I'm saying? Like Harvey Weinstein, was huge in that industry. And you think you're going to go up in there and get some type of respect? No. So, yeah, I definitely agree with the comment of Fiona. Yeah, we definitely need to just take our awards more seriously. And going back to, I think, Jesse, we need to just practice more, group economics and build ourselves up so that we can have an award show, and and that'll be what matters to us. So
Right. Madara, this is my response to what I was saying regarding what they can do, right? Because I'm all about solutions. I've been presenting solutions for years, right? First off is you gotta have self-love first, right? I cannot stress this enough, right? First is self-love. We gotta change ourselves as black people. Take the positives of what the culture brings, because I do believe there is a lot of positive things in the black community, in my opinion, right? Or African Caribbean community, or whatever you want to call it, right? For example, respecting elders, family, even though fathers ain't in the home, but we do respect our elders, right? There's a lot of things that I would say, yeah, there's this positive things, right? We take what is the positive and discard what is the negative, right? And understand that we are also a minority, right? There's not many of us, right? Even like down the states, I know down in the states where you're from, JH, there's 30% of you, right? We only make up 3 here, right?
yes,
And again, this is the problem. What I see, when I hear the mobile awards, right? Even though I didn't watch the mobile awards, what I'm starting to hear is I hear words like organization, right? Seriousness, right? Is always a joking thing, right? Maybe subconsciously, some of them think they are jokes. Maybe they don't have the self-esteem to actually think, hey, you know what? I'm better than that for me to say that. Because I agree. Like, why is it that, some of these presenters, you could even see it on the podcast, why are they always flirting with the women, right? Even same thing with like even ZZ Mills, right? There was times where I was like, ZZ Mills wants to be this top, even though I respect what she's doing and she's doing quite well for herself, right? At the beginning, it was like, okay, you want to be talking sexual. I don't know if you've watched some of the videos. Like, why are you talking about sex in an interview when you're meant to come up as this top interviewer, and you're meant to be someone for the culture? You gotta have a certain decorum. You gotta have a sort of formality when you're speaking. You understand? You have to have put a specific image out there so that certain people respect you and say, "Hey, you know what? I could rock with that." And
Do
when
you know
I
why I
say,
think that is, Justice? You know why I think that is?
huh?
Do you know why I think that is? Sorry to cut you. Is that there's a part of me that thinks, I don't know how that seriousness is associated with more acting whitish. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's just me and how I see it, but acting proper. You know what I mean? Maybe if you had a proper black guy or a black woman there, it won't come across as a MOBO Awards. It will come across as something else. I don't know. What do you think?
Maybe,
I,
but
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, go on, KH. You say something.
No, I'll make it real quick. And I think there's just a difference, even when it comes, we talk about just humor, right? There's a difference between making witty comments and then being a joke and being a jester. A couple of years ago, he's over there. What's the guy that used to do The Office,
Ricky
the
Gervais.
British, Ricky Gervais, right? And he hosted the Golden Globes or whatever, right? And he was just slaughtering everyone, right? He made, funny quips, but he wasn't a joke, right? I took him seriously. Like if I were to see him out and about, like I would think like, oh man, this is a serious guy, right? But these other guys, I'd be like, oh, I can just, I can just talk to him any old type of way. And I think that's the line we need to walk in. We're just getting it wrong. Like, don't be a joke, but you can make funny quips or whatever. But I think that was the point I was trying to make, and I see that a lot. Like you don't have to be a buffoon to be funny, and I think that's maybe just a lack of comedic skill. I don't know.
Right. And again, with salute, like it's group economics, right? Because the thing is trust and self-love also ties into group economics, right? If you don't trust someone, right, why would you break bread with them? Why would you give them your money, right? This is why you have like scams, fraud, all of these things which are negative things, right? So first off, you got to also sort out the social economic problems as well, right? If you don't sort out your own community, or nothing's gonna change, right? I've said this many times to people, and it's like, oh, when I point out what the problems are, oh no, like, no, this isn't true, Jesse, gaslighting, name calls, blah 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 blah, right? And then once those things are sorted, then you can start building a structure. That's when you can start making money. That's when you can start building your own identity. Because the reality is, when
I
we're
agree with you.
huh?
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Right. We're focusing. What I'm seeing is we're focusing on things that are unimportant. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, yes, racism is a problem, right? Yes, racism is like, but there's bigger fish to fry. Do you know what I'm saying? We got to sort out the knife crime. We got to sort out the fatherless homes. We got to sort out the poverty. All of those things before we could even talk about, building a family as well. Before we could even talk about, and we got to get men. We also got to sort out the men as well, right, and the women as well. Because if without a family, you can't build wealth. Right? It's going to be very difficult, or it's just going to be you by yourself building wealth and networking with other people, right? That's another way you can do it. But the really key of building wealth is also keeping wealth in the family. All you got to do is look at big elitist families like the Trump family, the Rothschilds. They're keeping the wealth in the family. If you keep the wealth in the family, you also keep the wealth in the community, right? So if you don't focus and change on those things, there's no way the black community is going to change. And that's my whole point. Right? You got to fix the problems first before you can start. I'll say, yeah, we're going to do financial this. But I will say this on a positive note. Even though I don't co-sign Black Pound Day, I do appreciate the thought. The thought of, hey, we need to be financially better. I 100% agree with that. But the actual execution, the actual market of Black Pound Day, I can't really co-sign that. Because you got to look 50 years when we came here. You got to give credit to the British majority who have tried their best to improve the situation as it was 50 years ago. Because the things that I used to speak with my elders about, right, about what they used to go through, like even some of the nurses that came over from the Caribbean, right, who are older, like in their 70s and their 60s, people used to go out, like they used to go to like hospitals, treating people, saying that they were looking like monkeys, they were swinging off trees, they don't want people to touch them. Like there was a time where I remember once where I think it was my mother was talking about how she walked down a place in Kent, and everyone will come out of their doors just staring. Right? We don't have to deal with that as much. Yeah, to a minimal way, yes, but that's really how you got to change things. Is you got to look at the problems. You got to be honest with yourself, right? Because if you're not honest with yourself, all you're doing is destroying yourself, right? And get down to the nitty gritty. Do the hard work. Find out the solutions that work based on science, and then just do it. Right? That's the only way it's going to change. Right? Because, I hear about all this knife crime and blah, blah, blah. If we don't sort that out, we're going to be having the same conversations 10 years later unless we don't do anything. Talking great, but it's got to be action.
I think what you advocate for is very, very good for the individual to kind of configure themselves moving on forward. But what about for the collective? Because right now we are starting from a point that, I don't know, maybe we have been or started right now where we don't love ourselves, as you say. So how do we bridge that, move it away from the individual to the collective? As you say group economics. How do you get a lot of people to gravitate to group economics?
All right, gravitate to economics is you got to look at what is what is an individual's best self-interest, and see what is that best self-individual's interest, and translate that into value to other people, and then you start building wealth, right? Start learning about healthy relationships, right? It's small things. We don't need money to do that, right? Understand what is the healthy dynamics of relationship. There's literature, there's education out there, right? How to prevent certain how do we prevent some of these issues from happening, right? For example, create systems like for example, how you got marriage. Create a system in terms of how can I keep that father in the home with that parent? What agreements that we could come up with? Like, here's what I find is strange, right? Everyone else is creating their own systems, but why can't we? Why can't we create our own system in the own system that we're in, right?
I
Because
think
I know
because
Asians, right? Asians, they talk about their own type of systems where they would even have a work system where one Asian will go to bed and the other Asian will wake up and work night shift, and they will get their financial, even if it's in a like rubbish place, do root economics, build it up, take over the whole like area, and then build businesses. Like I've spoken to people like this personally, like even Muhammad himself, right? The dude I was talking about who gave for the English, right? And now he's a doc. He has a doctorate business, right? So I think it's private doctor, but that's the thing, right? Create solutions, create your own self-interest, right? Figure out what is valuable. Stop focusing on things that are unimportant, and start where, because we are the ones that are making the most mistakes. It shows in the stats, right? And look at the positives as well, because what I tend to see, and you can see this reflected on like YouTube, even YouTube in general, right? On how like black people speak, is very negative. It's like it's the sense of hopelessness, the sense of defeatism. There's a sense of like, no, we can't do this. It's always negative. There's good things we've done. We've got to identify those too, right? And that's how you really change things.
yeah, I agree to that to an extent. I agree to that to an extent. Yes, we do need to show. I don't know, not necessarily show, but have a representation of us working together and actually succeeding that supersedes actually the dysfunction that happens as well. Because I think the dysfunction is what's displayed a lot more, even if it's not displayed in the media, it's displayed in our closest circles, and that is a problem to actually build in this love as well. I think people tend to gravitate to benefit as well, right? When people start to see winning and benefit, and people start to see something that may be advantageous to them as well, they will start to rethink things as well. And perhaps they might think, you know what, perhaps making a business deal with my other fellow over there, I don't have to love him, but I have to understand there's a benefit to working with that guy. You understand? But upon working with him and we succeed, then I'm going to start to even love him and trust him, and I'm going to work with him to secure what we have achieved as well. That builds the love in a way from a place of zero.
Let me try and I just want to bring the conversation a little bit back. Conscious we're going for a bit of 3 hours now, so I'm conscious of time as well. Just almost coming to 11 o'clock here. So, but with all the situation that went on with Meghan Markle in the royal family, how there was massive reports of institutional racism. Obviously, the question that was asked of the kid, I wonder what color the kid would be. I don't know what context it was said in, but it rubbed them the wrong way. You've seen the situation that took place as a result of everything that's gone on with Meghan Markle, the press. Again, a lot of reports of racism in the royal family. The press were on her back. I forgot who the newspaper was who basically, was it a comedian, a news presenter who made a parody of the child being like a monkey. And we all know what that reference was about, even though Meghan Markle, for all intents and purposes, she's like white passing. So all that instead in place, is that still a bad reflection on the empire as a whole? And would you see that not as how do you see it? Is that still post-racial, as that's acceptance, or would you still see that there's still that blocker there from accepting these higher honors because of what's happened?
Yeah, go on, Ozzy.
I mean, in regards to the whole Meghan Markle situation, at the start I was quite skeptical, but when you're looking at certain family members, they do have that have that history in regards to making racialized statements in a derogatory term. But what I would say is that I think that you have some people who are like really, really old who have a it's sort of a like it's sort of like the English version of Jim Crow mentality. They have that type of mentality, and it's usually people who are in high, who are wealthy, who are well off and all that, who tend to have those views and express it in a blasé manner without the presence of normal people or something like that. It's sort of like, the polite, racialized term to be used in a dinner table. But what it also told me that those type of people do exist, and and it would be wrong of me to deny that. But I also do know that based on the fact that to be honest, yeah, Meghan Markle's not a very positive person. When you're looking at her from the family's point of view, her family disputes and stuff like that. She didn't really look very favorable to me. Like normally, I would expect that Harry will probably get married to a woman that has good relations with her parents or something like that. Very family orientated person, and not really a New York, subway, coffee drinker or something like that. Latte drinker who likes to only read Washington Post or New York Times.
Yeah.
So the whole empire thing, like for me, yeah, I'm not very it really doesn't affect it. I'm not going to say it doesn't affect me, but I tend to not have any position of it. I knew for a fact that in certain countries that were like ruled and all that, many people complaining about wealth being looted, and so much wealth to the tunes of billions of pounds have been looted, and prime examples could be in the museums and artifacts and so on and so forth. But a person that was born in the 1940s, let's just say in 1947 is when it kind of particularly in the Indian subcontinent, a person that was born in 1947 is somebody that is old enough to be my grandmother or my grandfather. It's a very, very long time. We're talking about 75 years, almost 75 years. And I always felt that people who tend to sorry I always felt that people who who talk about the colonialism and stuff like that. I used to attend Speaker's Corner, and it's usually done by people who are second generation British born, who have that grievance and stuff like that. I think I thought I always felt that although the wrongs have been made and all that, but I felt that those grievances, it really some in some cases there was atrocity made, and anybody that says anything else different is lying. But I think that people are very over passionate about it, and they're over emotional about it, and it struck me quite strange because that person is second generation and he never been to the Indian subcontinent, but yet he has that grievance culture and all that. I'm not trying to excuse what happened 7 decades ago.
Isaiah, I have a question for you.
I think it was quite disgusting. But yeah, at the same time, we are in 2022, and you have people still wallowing in that mindset and all that. And I felt that, and I think that it's not a healthy mindset to have. And all that, it's just a bit mad, to be honest. But yeah, I do understand why a lot of people complain about those injustices and stuff like that. I think that, those injustices is unfortunately is part of the bad history of our country. And that's the very and that's the to some extent it's the truth. Like I don't have any as an English person, I don't have any there wasn't any positive aspect of colonialism and all that in schools or stuff like that in history and all that. How I saw it, it was a bad event and all that, but yeah, at the same time it did help people in certain small ways and all that. For instance, certain countries, you had certain people that would, set people on fire and all that, and they thought, it was okay and all that. Whilst, and the colonial countries would outlaw it, for the betterment of the of the population, from from the population and all that, and I've,
One sec, Ozzy. One sec, Ozzy.
yeah.
JH wants to ask you a question. Sorry, JH.
I think I remember it. You mentioned something about, and I definitely kind of agree with you to a point. You said something about like not holding a grudge, even though it's like 75 years ago. You talking about
they haven't experienced that trauma though. Like that's.
They haven't experienced trauma. I see what you're saying.
That's quite confusing for me to comprehend.
Well, again, do you think that the people who are second, two generations removed, is the economic and social, or there's still a legacy of, the colonialism, the racism, the invasions or whatever? Do you think that if there's still a legacy, and do you think if the people who, how can I put this? The people that you're talking about that have the hostility, if their economic and social and political environment was better, do you think that they would still hold that resentment?
I mean, it's a very good question to ask. If it's sort of like if an African person sees Africa in a more positive perspective and all that, then he'll probably be proud to be originally from there. Because when you look at, when someone says talks about Africa and all that, it's usually from a negative point of view and all that. But I do recognize, I heavily do recognize that Africa is a very resourceful country. It has the capability of of development, so on and so forth. But I do believe that financial mishandlement is widespread, and corruption is widespread as well. But I've always felt that the people that run those countries are really financially raping the country as well as the people.
I mean, well, I can't speak too much on
for their own means, but in regards to the people, in regards to let's just say a person who's from a former colony, originally from former colony, and he's and he's English and he's second generation English. I think if he views the country from a positive light and all that, then he wouldn't have that point of view.
Which country?
Like, for instance, if a first of the Indian subcontinent and all that,
You said stuff, an Indian view.
Person
India?
originally from the Indian subcontinent, wouldn't have that view if he sees, let's just say, Pakistan or Bangladesh. If he sees those two countries respectively in a more favorable view in terms of development, structural development, sustainability development, something tangible that can be recognized and noticed, rather than having one of those like short-term temporary fix that is not very sustainable. So if that person has that, then that person would be proud. But
So
I could equally say it too about Africa and all that. I remember one time there was a report saying that Morocco might build I think a train or something, or like a bridge heading towards mainland Europe, or something along the lines of it. And a lot of Africans were very celebratory about it.
So you agree to an extent that success or sustainable or some form of development in that aspect as well helps in building this love and pride that you refer to.
Well, to some extent, yeah. You'd be proud that you're originally from that place and all that, But yeah, at the same time, you have that respect of your country, as in the country that you're born in.
Yeah, exactly. I think so as well, because
it has a healthy mix to it, rather than having one than the other and all that. That in itself, the first one that I mentioned, that in itself is very healthy and very productive.
That's why I said that it's easier for wealthy people or people who have seen their collaborations come to success as well, collaborate with each other on future projects rather than people who have failed as well. And when I say failure, it's very encompassing into many things as well. That's what I say. I think loving each other is good, but I think something has to spur it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something tangible, something, you know, sustainable. You know, for instance, it could be, for instance, you know, something that really stick out from the masses of people, should I say? Excuse me. Sorry. You know, something that sticks out. You know, that and that is something that noticeable, and something that is very rare and unique. Is an achievement, not just an achievement, but also something to be proud of, right? So let's just say somebody builds, you know, another airport in London, you know, hypothetically speaking, and they built that airport in Croydon, you know, a third airport in the city of, you know, in the boundaries of London, and that happens to be a black person or that black person, and then they're gonna name it, for instance, as in 4 years' time, as, you know, Ian Wright Airport or something like that. And it's the way they named Liverpool Airport as John Lennon Airport, right? They name it after, you know, a black person, you know, who was from, you know, Croydon and all that. And, you know, a black British person would be proud of it and all that. So, you know, that could be considered as a sustainable, you know, a recognizable, a noticeable, you know, something noticeable, you know, by, you know, in regards to, you know, a black person being named after an airport and all that, you know. That could be something to be proud of, but for me, it's just it doesn't go further. It doesn't really it doesn't do any justice for me, to be honest. You know, the whole color thing to be proud of and all that. It's just a bit. I don't know. It's just it doesn't really. It's sort of like 2008. You know, Barack Hussein Obama win an election. It's sort of like that, basically. It's a status without the sustainability in terms of the, you know, the title of it.
Oh, symbolism without substance, in a sense.
Yeah. So you know, I want something sustainable. I want something to be noticeable. I want something that carries meaningfulness.
Yeah, I give you that one. Why it matters. Hey, what was your original statement? Your question was about Marco and Harry getting together. You said something about can you repeat your question?
I suppose it was all about the vision, because a lot of people with these honor awards, it's like, oh, this is evidence of a post-racial society. But last year, a lot, even today, the royal family is pretty much broken up in all but name because of the racism, and the old ways are still at the forefront of people's mind. So it was really that question to bring back to the forefront of the question about accepting these honors. People want to accept, but right in front of us, we have, I think it's like 3-4 generations in the royal family, but they still have the old ways potentially. So that was kind of sort of my point or my question, to see how you guys think about that. Because Meghan Markle, again, we all thought, oh, this is it now. Or in the UK, I was like, oh, this is it now. This is a black woman marrying into the royal family. This is it now. This is the quintessential that post-racial society. But actually, you could argue it still raises the
it was crazy over here too, because I was, you know, when that first came about, it was so funny. I remember seeing an article saying about Prince Harry getting married, and in the article they had like a dark-skinned African woman, you know, it was just a stock photo. And I thought, like, oh, okay, then she's going to be, you know, maybe it's a black woman. And then when she showed up, I'm sitting there still looking for, you know, this black woman. I'm still looking for the black woman, you know. And
you know why it matters. I wasn't a bit too crazy about that whole situation. I always thought they were pandering to the African American kind of population as well. You know,
because she was from over here,
You know, so I need to get this, but there was a black woman crying because Meghan Markle was doing the rounds in the UK, and I can't remember where it was. There's dark-skinned black woman. Now, you know what Meghan Markle looks like. Yeah, this dark-skinned black woman. She was crying, saying, "Thank you, you've given us a voice, or you've given us this." I swear,
crazy?
It's crazy, to be honest. It's sort of like Kamala Harris, vice presidency. It's sort of like that. It happened in CNN, and I was shocked and I shook my head and all that. That's a similar situation. Particularly,
yeah.
I always find it feature quite strange though. You know, a dark
Yeah, we got to
skin
hold that L over
say
here. Yeah,
about
black
a mixed
people.
race woman like that. Anyway, like, but
Yeah.
as soon as that mixed race woman, gets with a a black guy and all that, then some dark skinned woman will get really jealous and remind her, she's not fully black and that she's mixed race.
Yeah,
But it's a very strange thing, to be honest. It's very, very strange.
Yeah, because I think at least for black people, I'm not sure what, for us, and it kind of sucks because it's kind of like all we got. You know what I'm saying? Because we, particularly here in America, and it kind of sucks because, we don't have, well, especially here in America. I mean, that whole, black just being bad and that was drilled in us for the last 400 years. But it's like that's pretty much all we got. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't have any real, industries that we control. Yeah, hell, even the rap industry, which we created, is controlled by other people. The jazz that we created was controlled by other people. So we really don't have anything. So the only thing we really have is just, we can get a black face somewhere. That's all these, all Americans, really care for. And even now, it's got to the point where you got, people like, like I said, Kamala Harris, who is, majority Indian, which I have no problem with, but it's just like, look, bro, like she is not as, there's some issues with that. You got Meghan Markle, who's, white as a driven snow, and it's just like everyone's getting all, dewy-eyed over her. And I'm saying like, yo, what do you guys? I mean, this is what we come to, where we're getting all excited over this this white passing woman.
JH, can I ask you a question? Like,
Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
It might be not. I'm not sure whether or not it's important, anything like that. But like, do you think a lot of those dark, some of these dark-skinned women, they tend to live off Meghan Markle, particularly those in a divestment community?
Oh yeah, do they live vicariously through her? Yeah, I think they do. I think a lot of people who aren't divested, if you don't have a particular understanding of British imperial history and you don't have a particular black nationalist kind of pan-Africanist leaning, you're not going to get it. Like, you're going to look at it and just think of it as a black woman marrying a prince, like in the Disney movie. That's because we all grew up on Disney. I don't know how but here in America, we all grew up on Disney, being a princess, all the other shit. Like, we even still, we even call ourselves black kings and queens and shit. So that monarchy thing is still kind of in us. You know what I'm saying? That kind of love for monarchy and all the other shit. So that's in us. And I think a lot of people were, living vicariously through Meghan as a way of saying that they made it. Almost like, I think it was Wyatt Matters talking about the black girl who was crying, thinking that Meghan Markle was doing something for her. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. I mean, did I answer your question?
Yeah. Thanks.
Could I interject regarding Meghan Markle and what I think about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
My opinion is, first off, I want to see evidence, right? First off, by royal family or Meghan Markle, because the media, if you know about the media could make stories out of nothing or try to skew things in however they want their agenda to be, right? First off, I don't remember Meghan Markle ever claiming that she was a black woman, right? I could be wrong, right? So first off, I don't know. This is the problem, again, with the validation, needing validation. For example, you said there was someone crying about, you're giving us a voice, right? I think that was what you said, why it matters.
Yeah, there was the black woman who was pretty much saying that. Yep.
Right. Why can't black people make their own voice? Why can't they make their own media and have their own voice? Right? Why do you have to wait for other people to create stuff for you? This is what I don't get.
But it's bigger than that, isn't it? I'd agree, but this is the royal family now. I mean, you can't just get into it other than by marriage. You know what I mean? There's no other way. So it's a massive different echelon.
I hear that. But another thing we've got to look into is not just that as well. It's class, right? The royal family are basically part of the elite, right? With the way they operate, compared to the average person that we live in, we can't relate, right? So when I see like all this hype over Meghan Markle and the royal family and so on and so forth, it's like I don't know why we're so emotionally invested into it, to be honest. So I'm not saying all of us, but some of us emotionally invested into it because in the end of the day, like they're of a different class. She never ever stated that she was black, right? But there's people of different ethnicity groups jumping on the bandwagon.
I mean,
You
look,
know what I mean?
you see that you see my avatar, don't you? It's of a king. A black man is a king. You that's the reason why I invested. It's the king. That's who we want to be. I know we can't, be it in terms of like a job career, but we're a king. We come from lines of kings. That's what we say.
Right.
And queens.
And queens. But
gotta be inclusive, man.
it's like I just don't see this. Again, it's something that I don't really think like should be made it like into a big deal. Like when I hear things about the royal family said, or they were looking into how this kid is gonna look, and so on and so forth, or refer to the skin color. You gotta add context to that. That's why I like. This is why I like evidence, right? Evidence don't lie. That's why I don't really invest myself or pick a side or like because I see it as insignificant. All right, cool, they're together, cool. Like what to do? I'm happy for them. I hope they live happily ever after. But as a whole, like I just think like it's something completely unrelatable, right?
Yeah, I definitely think it was noteworthy, but all this crying, absolutely not.
That's what I'm saying. It's again.
I think.
Again.
Go on. Sorry, Jesse. Go on.
Yeah. Again, this is what I was saying previously about the black community. Is we focusing on things we don't need to focus on. We got bigger problems to deal with.
Yeah. Are any of you guys familiar with that? It's a channel on YouTube. It's called C. Grandison. I think his name is Chris Paul Grandison. I'll put it in the chat. But he talks a lot about almost to the point that you're making, Mamila. He's like a evolution psychologist. I think he's based out of London. But he spent some time in America, spent some time in the UK. He has a really awesome YouTube channel. I'll throw it in the chat or whatever for you guys to look him up. But he's very awesome, and he talks a lot about this type of stuff. And I think that you particular, Jesse, you'll really like his stuff. I'll throw it in the chat.
What I'm gonna say, why it matters regarding the accolades and all these achievements as well, is I think to an individual level, I will not hold it against anybody that accepts such accolades. But that person must understand, as a collective, it really doesn't really go that far and it doesn't really mean much. But you can accept it for your own attainment in life and your own successes. I will implore anyone. I not necessarily implore, but I will not hold it against anybody. But when it comes to the grand scheme of things, as a community, it really doesn't mean much. Really, it's not speaking for everyone. It's speaking for your individual achievement. With regards, as I always say, like as long as Africa is the way it is, no matter how much we achieve in another system or in another person external system, there's only an amount of respect that we can receive and we should expect to receive as well. Because while I want to say it's because some people don't consider it their home, but Africa does represent, the state of Africa does represent how certain aspects of your people look like as well. And whilst that remains, it doesn't look good, it doesn't reflect well on you. Although your individual achievement may be good, but your collective achievement will still be stained in such a way. So I think we must really look towards Africa to an extent and the collective to an extent as well. But I will not hold it against anybody that accepts it as as a reward for their own individual struggle.
No, very, very good point. And you know what, you actually raised a topic I kind of want to tackle on another live stream later on sometime in the year about, can us as people, our image is really maintained by the collective image of Africa. We can't get around that. As much as we try and say we're separate, as much as we have our different ethnic groups and whatnot, at the end of the day, our image would only go as far as, in my humble opinion, as the continent. So Ozzy, you wanted to say something? I'm
Yeah,
going to end.
what I was going to say is that, you know, that it's important to take consideration that Africa, you know, it has so much minerals, it has so much potential and all that. But the thing is that you have people, particularly, you know, in local governance, in those respective countries, who are essentially raping the natural resources of their respective countries. And that is something that we can't, you know, we can't ignore. You know, it's
Right.
it has so much, you know, potential and all that, you know, and it's, you know, and you're right, it has poverty. It's really bad.
Yeah,
You know,
but let's not forget that there's a lot of Western powers that back those governments too. I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, go ahead.
And you know, if let's just say, you know, if there was like, if there was like so much development in Africa and all that, you know, Africa could potentially become, you know, a major player in the world. You know, so you always have to, you know, take consideration, you know, although it's a very rich country in terms of the natural resources and stuff like that. But yeah, at the same time, you should, you know, you shouldn't be, you know, looking at Africa in a inferior manner and all that. Even though, yes, you know, when you look at it in the TV and all that, it's not a very outside of, you know, the pyramids or you know, like famous landmarks in you know, African continent and all that. Outside of that, yeah, you know, the poverty and, you know, and charities and stuff like that, you know. You know, you should, you know, any person, you know, I would urge any person to actually look at Africa in a favorable light, because it's a place that has so much potential. But unfortunately, it's a place where it's riddled with corruption, and you know, and it's also, you know, and the people that usually pay the price is the people that live in those respective countries. And you know, and in terms of, you know, finances, poverty, education, stuff like that. Yeah.
I don't only mean it in regards to Africa. The reason I mention Africa is because Africa is it's just such a big place, and that's where people link our beginning, our origins from as well. And why does it look like that as well? You know, but I'm not here to preach Pan-Africanism in a way. Even if we look at it to a British extent as well, if one person from like Lewis Hamilton or Meghan Markle or another Black Brit was to receive such accolades and all that stuff, does that really speak for the rest of us who, or some or half of us who live in this destitute in this country?
That's not something tangible, is it?
Yeah, you know. So it's not tangible, but I will not hold back against anybody that wants to take the accolades. But they must realize that a whole majority of us are. I hear what Jesse is saying. He doesn't want to say that we speak negatively, but it's a question worth asking. Are we really at the bottom of this society in Britain? It's a question worth asking.
Yeah, but the thing is, is that the thing I don't like about it is that if Lewis Hamilton wins the title, you know, it's good for him. You know, I'm happy for him. You know, it's good to see. You know, I'm not going to celebrate because, you know, he's a Black English person, you know, who won the race and all that. You know, in the Formula One race. But I'm not. You know, I'm going to congratulate him as an individual. But I'm not going to say, you know, well, you know, it makes me so proud to be, you know, Black. You know, it just doesn't sound right to me. It sounds insane. Any person, I believe, who has that mentality, you know, really needs to check themselves. With all due respect, you know, I find it to be insane. Literally, there's no sustainability. There's no substance to it, and there's no tangible thing that. What is his win? What is his? You know, is it going to improve my life? Is it going to, you know, reduce the crime rates in London?
I have a question. Ozzy, are you, I hate to ask this question, your background, you mentioned India a few times. Are you African, English? I mean, how's that? Black Brit, or are you like an Indian Brit? I hate to ask a question like this.
I'm Black Brit.
You're Black Brit? Okay. Yeah, I was going to say,
example, I mean, Indian subcontinent. There was an example of that. But
Okay.
I made it more specific. I actually refer to Pakistan and Bangladesh as
Okay,
as
so
an example early on.
so I'm sorry. So your people are from the continent of Africa.
No. What I'm saying is, I use the term Indian subcontinent as an example in order
Okay.
to illustrate, in terms of the, the
Okay.
empire and stuff like that, about the
Okay.
grievances and so on and so forth. The example.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it was true. Actually, it was a real life example that I've witnessed.
Yeah. No. I was gonna ask you. You said like you about not feeling something. When someone else, like I forgot, I don't know the person, like he wins the race and you like, I'm gonna congratulate him because he won the race, not because he's black. Do you feel anything? I don't know what your crime rate is, but like I say, if a black person gets killed in the street or whatever, like when George Floyd died, or for a lot of other people, George Floyd, or Crawford or Tamir Rice or whatever, when that person was killed, like I felt something, right? I didn't know the person, I didn't need to know the person, but I felt like what happened to that person was wrong. Do you feel that in that sense, like, okay, maybe not for the triumphs, but for the tragedies, do you kind of feel something? If it's a black Brit or whatever? Or do you just say, well, that's just that person. It's an injustice, but it's just that person that has no effect on me?
Well, if you witness an injustice, like, obviously it's going to affect anybody, irrespective of nationality, ethnicity, or race and all that. But the one I've actually witnessed, which is fairly recent, it was even though it's across the pond in the US in regards to the George Floyd incident, it was very shocking. I was quite shocked while I was watching, in terms of the lack of consideration of his life and all that, of Mr. Floyd. It was really, really disgusting to watch, and it was very graphical. It's like as if a person died right in front of me and all that. It was very, very graphical.
Let me ask you this then, Ozzy.
So graphical. I never saw anybody die like that in my life, literally.
So Ozzy, let me ask you this then, because I suppose I think what JH is trying to get to is, if you felt that about a trauma, why wouldn't you feel that way about a victory? Because I know what you're saying about Lewis Hamilton. His victory is not going to change your life tomorrow, but like people who are invested in, I don't know if you like sports, I don't know what your hobbies are, but people do get affiliated with if they're Brit, if England do well in football, if England win the Ashes, if Brits do well in the Olympics, if whoever it is, people have that affiliation for not only trauma but triumphs. Do you not feel the same way then?
I always tend to feel, in terms of sports, I tend to feel in terms of nationality wise. For instance, if there was a British boxer, if Mo Farah is one, he's a British athlete, and if he wins the race and all that, I'm happy for him. But we also, it goes the same for rugby, football or cricket and all that. Although I don't follow cricket or rugby and all that, and England wins, it's fantastic. Deep down, I feel quite happy for them. Even though I don't follow the sport, but I'm from the country, though. I'm trying to say. So
you identify with the country, but not necessarily the race.
It's going to be that support and all that.
So you identify with the country, but not necessarily the race of the individual player.
To me, race is very, for me, it's a secondary thing, to be honest. It's not a primary thing. If somebody says, let's just say, if there was like boxers and all that, two boxers, you got let's just say a Black American boxer.
How about the Jake Paul and
you got like a white English boxer and all that.
So Wilder versus Tyson Fury,
and they're playing and all that. I'm gonna obviously support the UK British boxer, right? I'm supporting him not because of race or anything like that. I'm supporting based on nationality. But you got a lot of people that are quite, that would use race and all that. But I personally use nationality and all that. Some people use it. Some people also would support the best boxer and all that. But for me, it's the nationality. For some reason,
So,
if Amir Khan was winning that, back in 2004 when I was a young child, I was rooting for Amir Khan. what do you call it, in Athens Olympics.
Why was that?
Right.
Athens Olympics back in 2004.
Why were you rooting for him?
Because he was British.
He was British. Not okay.
No, not because of his skin color. No.
JH, if you're about to say about Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul, I'm sorry, man. I've been a Tyron Woodley fan for years.
Bro,
I've been
I was about to throw my daggone phone out the window when I heard he lost, man. I was, oh man, but yeah. I mean, for me, even with the Tyrone Woodley thing, Tyrone, I mean, I don't really know the guy that well, but it still stung a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I guess because
it stung.
Yeah, because I mean, don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Jake Paul, he did his thing. He has his shtick. He picks, washed up athletes or whatever who aren't boxers. And then he has more, even though Tyrone Woodley has more fighting experience in terms of MMA, he has more boxing experience, how small it is. And he picks washed up fighters, right? He picks up fighters who are smaller than him, older than him, washed up, and then he beats them, and then he's patting himself on the back. I mean, yeah, it's a spectacle, but at the same time, it's it how can I put it?
Yeah,
it's gonna take a jab at your racial pride.
But
you know the one that hurt the most, right? It's funny. Hold on a minute, fellas. The Tyron Woodley situation, right? Tyron Woodley had been winning for a long time. Tyron Woodley is that kind of guy where when you see an artist and he's good at what he does, but does he really love it? Tyron Woodley had been doing good in this career and doing so well, but then it came a time where he actually lost the love for it. You understand me? And as soon as he lost the love, it was out of him. Kamaru Usman took the love of it. He even before that, he didn't want to exchange anymore, and he didn't want to be in that kind of situation. You understand what I mean? So Jake Paul has been very diligent, and he has been very consistent with his training, and he has done so well. And obviously, Tyron Woodley, it was very, very embarrassing. Very, very embarrassing. But the one that hurt me the most is Deontay Wilder versus Tyron Fury, because I looked at it from a kind of spiritual realm as well. I looked at Deontay Wilder, and they were having a spiritual battle, and then which turned into a physical one. Of course, Tyson Fury would win that because he's more experienced. But I was interested to see the spiritual battle going on. I think many people miss that, and they don't pay attention to that.
Yeah, it was definitely, and like I said, especially being here in America, that that racial undertone will always be there. You know what I'm saying? It's always going to be there, no matter how we, and I've learned it because even when I was younger, I didn't think of the world in terms of race or whatever. But every once in a while, people get their, we call it a nigga wake up call. You know what I'm saying? Like you realize that
nigga wake up call. I like that.
That's what we call it. Yeah, that's what we call it. Like you go through the world with this little rose-colored glasses, and then it's going to be some situation that comes up, and you're going to realize, oh, I see. No matter what I do, I'm still black in this country, and black is on the bottom of the totem pole. So it's
yeah. To a certain extent, it is like that. Even if people don't want to admit it, really or truly. They can't see what is really, even if the athletes themselves are above that, the fans are not above that, and it becomes that way.
Yeah, even, I mean, I heard over there, in the UK, they had like issues with, your football players, people throwing like banana peels on a damn field and shit.
That's huge. And funny enough, I think Americans don't really, American sports are a lot, in terms of the fans, they're a lot nicer than over here when it comes to racism, and you don't really hear compared to like, even like mainland Europe, so Italy, Spain, you hear a lot of that sort of stuff still going on. So
I would give it to the, because I don't know what's the makeup, because I know at least for here, in America, like the two biggest sports is basketball and football, and the majority of the players are black. I'm not sure how it works over there in the UK. Like, what's the makeup of
not white like that? I think it's because it's so global. So imagine there's a lot of white players, and there's still a lot of black players, but it's not as dominated because yours is very
we're like American. I want to say like the NBA is like 75% black players.
Yeah, it is. It looks 100% black, really, but yeah,
it looks that way. But it's there's a few, but I know with NFL, like it's a little bit more. How can I put it? a little bit more
specialized
balanced
positions, isn't it? Like quarterbacks are normally white people, Titans are white people, whereas defensive black people,
defensive players are black, wide receivers are black people,
running backs are black. So yeah, it's quite.
At least so over here, I mean, over here, I guess the fans see you all as equally worthless. Everyone catches hell over here, but
the culture over here, it has to be another live stream because I'm about to end this because this live stream has gone all over the place. But the culture over here a lot of times is very, very, very is a mixture of classism as well as racism, and that plays a huge part in a lot of our sports, depending on what sport it is. But yeah, that's definitely another topic. Anyway, thanks everyone for attending. Thank you everyone on the chat who's managed to bear with us for this long live stream. We've gone all over the place, here, there, and everywhere, but it all kind of links, I suppose, to empire and systems, political structures, and how we are viewed in light of our achievements. And I suppose being a knight, I was to say, being a sir or a dame is 100% the, as we see it in the UK, the what's the word? The pinnacle, the apex of all of that. So I hope you guys are all link it in and appreciate it. But no, thanks everyone for joining. You're welcome to come back as always. But yeah, definitely gonna wrap up the stream. Have a good night, everyone. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna hopefully do another live stream later this week. I've got a couple of topics in mind, but I'm not quite keyed in on it. But yeah. But no, thanks everyone who's been joining the stream. Sorry, someone says something.
What I'm going to say is, sorry, what I was going to say is, in regards to the whole title about sir or dame and all that, I find it to be, I always find it to be it's sort of like the doctor title for PhD. It's like an achievement of some sort, like an acknowledgement of an achievement of something, to help people, for instance, charities. Something, something with prestige.
Oh yeah, 100%,
go a long way and all that. So if, for instance, if you're writing a letter or applying for something in that, and you have "sir" in front of your name and all that, people are going to be treating you far more different.
Jesse, before we go, I wanted to let you know, I hope you do find you don't find my questioning style very a bit too much as well. It's just the way I prefer to communicate, and I've been very happy to pick your brains today on some of the ideas and solutions that you have, and so that I can hear and then we can expand on them as well. That's my communication style. I like to throw in to pick ideas of what people have got as well, and also just pose questions to some of the ideas they have as well. I hope you don't find that too much.
Hey, issue, man. Like, I appreciate that, and yeah, I don't mind listening to other people's point of views. I'm gonna have a YouTube channel up soon anyway. Probably, if not this month or next month, I have a YouTube channel up. It's gonna be great, man. And,
put it in the comment section, and I'll sub to it when it comes out.
All right, no problem, man.
Yep.
Right, yeah, definitely. I was going to actually say, yeah, I'll definitely plug your channel, Jesse. So by all means, if you need to, or even when the stream on the playback, just put it in the comments or whatever you need to do, it's fine. But yeah, anyway, thank you everyone for attending. Please make sure, again, you do like the stream. For those who watch on the playback, subscribe if you are new. But yeah, for definite, I will be seeing you on the next one. But until then, have a good night, take care, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right, have a good night. Great show, guys. Good night.
Peace.